मिस्टर भाई SS गुप्ता जी। और जैसा कि शुरू में बताया कि भाई ये बहुत हॉट टॉपिक है, तो ये हॉट टॉपिक है। और ये हॉट टॉपिक में से कैसे अपने क्लाइंटों को बचाना है और कैसे हम लोग को भी प्रोफेशन की हमारी रक्षा करनी, दोनों ही काम इम्पोर्टेंट है। ये हमारे जो लर्नड वक्ता है ये सारी बात हम लोग को बताएंगे। हम लोग वाकिफ है कि डिफरेंट हाई कोर्ट्स ने क्या ऑर्डर दिए, जितनी प्रोसीडिंग थी सबको फेस किया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि नहीं, डिपार्टमेंट को हम जो है रिमेडियलेशन नहीं होने देना चाहते, तो उन्होंने कर दिया कि भाई जो भी जितने भी केसेज है उन सब पर आर्टिकल 142 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लगा दी। तो लगा के जितने नोटिस इश्यू हुए बिटवीन 1 अप्रैल और 30 जून 2021 के बीच में, उन सब नोटिस को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि वो नोटिस जो है 148 के, दोज विल बी डीम्ड एज नोटिस अंडर सेक्शन 148A। अब क्या 148A में, जैसा कि हमको सबको पता है कि जब नोटिस आती है तो उसके साथ में रीजंस भी रहते हैं, क्योंकि 148 के जो नोटिस इश्यू हुए थे उसमें कोई रीजंस नहीं दिए गए। तो अब ये सारे जो रीजंस आने हैं, जिसको इनका इंफॉर्मेशन या मटेरियल, ये जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि भाई 2 जून के अंदर, यानी 30 दिनों के अंदर, 4 मई को ऑर्डर हुआ था, तो 2 जून के अंदर अंदर जो है ये सारे मटेरियल इंफॉर्मेशन जो भी डिपार्टमेंट के पास है, हमारे कुछ केसेज में, क्लाइंट के केसेज में कुछ ऐसे इंफॉर्मेशन या मटेरियल आए हैं। लेकिन मैं आपको एक बात बता सकता हूँ कि ये जो इंफॉर्मेशन आई है, जैसे एक क्लाइंट का असेसमेंट ईयर 16-17 का आया, जिसमें अमाउंट इन्वॉल्व है खाली 1,01,000 रुपया, जिसको बोलते हैं बोगस परचेज। बोगस परचेज किससे किया है उसका कोई नाम नहीं। किसी पार्टी के थर्ड पार्टी, फोर्थ पार्टी का सर्वे हुआ, उसमें कोई ब्रोकर था, उसने इस पार्टी का नाम ले दिया, बल्कि हमारे पार्टी ने सारे रिकॉर्ड देखे, उस पार्टी से हमारा कोई लेना देना नहीं है, 1 रुपये का भी परचेज नहीं है। तो बोगस और जेन्युइन का सवाल ही कहाँ है। दूसरी बात, जब असेसमेंट 16-17 इन्वॉल्व है, क्योंकि अब जो नियम है नया 149 में, उसमें तो है कि फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ असेसमेंट ईयर 3 साल के अंदर केस खोल सकता है जनरली, 50 लाख से ज्यादा का नहीं होता। तो हमारा तो 16-17 जो 3 साल के अंदर नहीं है, 16-17 का 3 साल जो है वो तो 31 मार्च 2020 को खत्म हो गया। दूसरी बात, जहां पर अमाउंट 50 लाख से कम है उस पर हाथ नहीं डाल सकते। तो ऐसे ऐसे नोटिस आ रहे हैं। मैंने विद ड्यू रेस्पेक्ट टू द इनकम टैक्स ऑफिशियल्स, कि क्या है कि हम लोग लॉ में एक बात करते हैं, कोर्ट में भी कई बात कहते हैं, अपील में कहते हैं अप्लीकेशन ऑफ माइंड। तो या तो ये जो लॉ के बेसिक प्रोविजन है 147 से 151 प्लस सुप्रीम कोर्ट की गाइडेंस, जो डिसीजन है जजमेंट 4 मई का, या तो उसको पढ़ नहीं रहे हैं, देख नहीं रहे हैं। और दूसरा बात ये हो सकता है कि अप्लीकेशन ऑफ माइंड तो वो आदमी करेगा जिसको माइंड हो। पहले हम लोग जो प्रैक्टिस शुरू किए थे, तब हर ऑफिसर के रूम में, चेंबर में, उस टाइम पौधा कोर्ट में भी केस होते थे, बहुत सारी बिल्डिंग कलकत्ता में है, हर ऑफिसर जो है 20-25 किताबें रखता था, जरूरत होने से पढ़ता था, निकालता था, रेफर करता था। अब तो कोई किताब का काम ही नहीं है। अब तो बोलते हैं साहब सब हमारे तो कंप्यूटर में है। लेकिन कंप्यूटर, मैं आपको कहता हूँ कि 100 में से 90 ऑफिसर कंप्यूटर खोलते ही नहीं है। कोई केस लो देखना और कोई चीज देखना, अनलेस अनटिल कोई फेसलेस असेसमेंट का मामला हो, CIT अपील है, वो कई स्मार्ट होते हैं, वो फटाफट हमने कोई केस लो रेफर किया, वो तुरंत देख लेते हैं कि उसका क्या रेशियो था, वेदर दैट टेलीज विद आवर फैक्ट्स ऑफ आवर केस। तो ये एक बहुत दयनीय स्थिति है और बहुत मिजरेबल स्थिति है, जिस पर कि हमारी फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री, CBDT और इवन कोर्ट्स को भी देखना चाहिए कि हाउ टू सेट इट राइट। आज चाहे 148 का मैटर हो, 148A का हो, अब इसमें 148A का मान के भी ये है कि वो उन्होंने हमको इंफॉर्मेशन दी या मटेरियल दिया, सो कॉल्ड मटेरियल, उसका हम लोग जवाब देते हैं। और जवाब दे के उन लोगों को उस पर विचार करना चाहिए जस्टिफिएबली, तब उनको निर्णय करना चाहिए। 148A डी का जब ऑर्डर करेंगे तो वो सोच समझ के करना चाहिए। लेकिन मैं ज्यादातर केस में देखता हूँ जो मैकेनिकल वे में ऑर्डर पास किए जा रहे हैं। सब केस में कह देता है जिसमें जवाब दिया है उसमें वो लिखता है कि पार्टी ने कोई जवाब नहीं दिया, जबकि कई केस में हमारे पास जो है उनकी प्रमाण है, प्रूफ है, एविडेंस है कि हाँ ये पार्टी ने जवाब दिया है वेल बिफोर टाइम। तो जिस केस में इवन ज्यूरिसडिक्शन को भी चैलेंज किया है उसको भी वो लोग नहीं देखना मांगता है। अब ये सब हम लोग की जो दुनिया है इनकम टैक्स वालों की, वो कहाँ जा रही है, ये एक बहुत बड़ा सोचने का बात है। और ये जो डिफरेंट एंगल्स है, ये जो अभी आ रहे हैं, इंफॉर्मेशन आ रहा है, मटेरियल आ रहा है, फिर हम लोग जवाब देंगे, जवाब देने के बावजूद भी, सफिशिएंट जवाब देने के बावजूद भी फिर भी हो सकता है 148 इशू हो जाए। तो अब ये क्या है कि देखिए बेसिक चीज, दोनों चीज हम लोग को देखनी होगी। माने ये कोई भी सेक्शन 147, 148, 148A सिंगुलरली हम नहीं पढ़ सकते। हम लोगों को 147 से 151 जो है एक साथ दिमाग में रख के पढ़ना पड़ेगा कि उसका क्या माने, और उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन मटेरियल आ रहा है उसका जवाब हम लोग को देना चाहिए। और उसमें जो भी यार्ड स्टिक है कि 3 साल का केस वो किन परिस्थितियों में खोल सकते हैं। 3 साल का ऐसा नहीं है कि सीधा है रास्ता कोई भी खोल दिया, उसमें भी यार्ड स्टिक्स है, उनको फॉलो करके खोलना होगा। और रीअसेसमेंट ज्यादा होगा तो उसमें 50 लाख। अब 50 लाख का कई मामलों में क्या है कि सिर्फ किसी का टर्नओवर का एलिगेशन है या कोई सर्विस टैक्स में दिखाया उसका एलिगेशन है। तो इनकम, एक्ट बोलता है कि वो इनकम होनी चाहिए, नॉट द टर्नओवर। दूसरी बात बोलते हैं दैट शुड बी रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय सम असेट, जो कि एक्ट में डिफाइन किया गया है। 2021 में एक तरह से डिफाइन किया गया था, 2022 में उसको अमेंडमेंट करके और उसका विस्तार कर दिया है कि उस पर्पज के लिए एसेट और क्या क्या चीजें, जो एक्सपेंडिचर भी शामिल है और भी कई चीजें शामिल है। लेकिन वो जो अमेंडेड लॉ है दैट इज एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम 1 अप्रैल 2022 एंड नॉट फ्रॉम 1 अप्रैल 2021। तो कोई भी नोटिस आने से उसको शांति से पढ़ के देखना चाहिए कि क्या मटेरियल डिपार्टमेंट एट ऑल भेजा है। उसको हम लोग को टैक्स पेयर असेसी जो है उससे बात करनी चाहिए, पूछना चाहिए भैया इसमें क्या असलियत है क्या नहीं है, फिर उसका जवाब बनाना चाहिए। साथ में हम लोगों को जो लॉ जो है उसमें भी देखना चाहिए कि कौन कौन से सेक्शन, सब सेक्शन, प्रोविजन में हम लोग, हमारी पार्टी बच सकती है, तो वो जरूर मेंशन करना चाहिए। माने फैक्ट्स भी दीजिए, चाहे फैक्ट्स में हम लोग निकल गए तो ठीक है, लेकिन विदाउट प्रेजुडिस लॉ की बात भी सब हमको करनी चाहिए। क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली फैक्ट्स और लॉ का दोनों का जो गठबंधन है उसी से हमारी क्लाइंट की अल्टीमेट उसका बचाव उसी में हो। तो मैं हमारे जो लर्नेड स्पीकर्स हैं धरण भाई, और उसके बाद में जो हमारे पैनल में जो है प्रदीप कपासी साहब, पारस भाई और एस गुप्ता जी, सब हमारे विद्वान स्पीकर है। और मैं भी चेष्टा करूंगा कि पूरी देर में सबकी बात सुनूं। और ये वेबिनार जो व्यूज एक्सचेंज ने की है इसके लिए आप लोगों को सबको बहुत बहुत शुभकामना, धन्यवाद। और पूरा ध्यान से सुनिए, और आपके कोई क्वेश्चन हो वो भी स्पीकर डील करेंगे, वो भी आप नोट करते जाइए। तो अपने संचालन कर रहे हैं आज के कार्यक्रम का शरद सहायता जी कन्वीनर है, तो जैसे वो परमिट करे वैसे सारे क्वेश्चन भी लिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, स्वागत।
नारायण जैन सर, ये आप कंक्लूड आप भी करेंगे, क्लोजिंग रिमार्क सर आप ही का रहेगा?
क्या बोल रहे हैं दर भाई?
क्लोजिंग रिमार्क आप ही का रहेगा लास्ट में सर, कंक्लूड का?
ठीक
ठीक है सर,
ठीक।
धरण गांधी सर।
यस
आपसे सर सुनना चाहेंगे आप धरण गांधी जी?
यस, एम आई ऑडिबल?
यस यस सर।
ओके, कैन आई शेयर माय स्क्रीन?
हाँ सर।
हाँ सर, आप शेयर कर सकते हैं।
Yes, please. You can.
Yes.
Screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Firstly, let me thank the Views Exchange Study Circle for inviting me to speak on this very relevant topic. जैसे नारायण सर ने कहा कि number of notices which we are receiving will increase because 2nd June is the last day to issue all the notice and provide all the information and material. At the same time, let me also acknowledge the presence of our other learned speaker, Mr. Paras Kochar sir, S.S. Gupta sir, Subhash Agarwal sir, and Pradeep sir. And with this, let me start with the presentation. I am required to deal with the aspect of drafting of reply in response to 148A P notice. Before that, let me give a brief background. According to the new reassessment regime under section 148, 148A, 149, 151, this has actually now become a new limited scrutiny assessment. If you look at the time limit to complete the regular scrutiny assessment under 143.3, 143.2 has to be issued within 3 months, and assessment has to be completed from the end of 9 months from the end of the assessment year. Number of notices under 143.2 has reduced. Scrutiny assessment की notices काफी कम हो गई है, and we are seeing increasing trend of issuing notice under 148 for reopening the assessment within 3 years. तो ये जो है reopening of assessments है within 3 years, this is a case of new limited scrutiny assessment, but with certain added condition of income escaping assessment. Department has become more information driven. इंफॉर्मेशन किसी यहाँ पे सर्च होती है, सर्वे होती है, उसके बाद वो कंसर्न ऑफिसर इंफॉर्मेशन अपलोड करती है, वो इनसाइट पोर्टल पे रिफ्लेक्ट होती है, वो कंसर्न असेसिंग ऑफिसर को जाती है, एंड ही हैज टू इशू नोटिस within 3 years. He has to issue, and if he issues beyond 3 years, he has to fulfill certain additional condition under section 149.
सेल का फिगर पूरा देना पड़ेगा।
Yes. So frankly, reassessment का time गवर्नमेंट बोल रही है कि हमने 6 साल से 3 साल कर दिया है. रियली स्पीकिंग जो 3 साल का टाइम लिमिट है, that is a new time limit for limited scrutiny assessment, and for the other years they have increased from 6 years to 10 years. Briefly going to Supreme Court judgment, there were several high courts in favor of the SSC in respect of this new issue, including Allahabad, Delhi, Calcutta, Rajasthan, Madras, Bombay. However, Supreme Court in case of Union of India versus Ashish Agarwal, they have invoked Article 142. Now, Article 142 is a very special power which is bestowed upon the Supreme Court to do complete justice in any matter. Supreme Court has invoked Article 142 in a tax matter, which has happened very rarely. And they have deemed the notices issued under Section 148 of the Act as being issued under Section 148A B of the Act, which is a show cause notice. And Supreme Court has given the following directions. The Supreme Court has deemed the notices issued under Section 148 to be notice issued under Section 148A of the Act and to be treated as show cause notice. AO has been directed to provide SSC with information and material within 30 days from the date of the judgment, that is 4th May. SSC has been given 2 weeks time to reply to the notice, material and information provided. The requirement of conducting prior inquiry with prior approval of specified authority has been dispensed with as one-time measure. After considering the reply, the AO will have to pass an order under Section 148A(d) of the Act. All the defenses available under Section 149 of the Act or under the amended provisions relating to assessment shall be available to the SSC. And most importantly, this judgment would apply to all the cases where respective high courts have passed the order or cases are pending before the respective high courts. Pursuant to Supreme Court judgment, the department has issued this instruction, which is instruction number 1 of 2022, dated 11th of May 2022. Some of the important findings of, or some of the important directions given by CBDT are, firstly, in para 2, they have acknowledged the fact that sari notices under section 148 were issued under the old law. However, with effect from 1421, old law has been substituted with new sections 147 to 151. Para 4, they say this instruction is issued under section 119 of the Act for uniform implementation across India. Para 5, they have raised an issue that judgment applies to all notices, irrespective of fact whether notices have been challenged or not. This is very debatable issue. There are some views that Judgment will only apply if notice has been challenged in a writ petition before the High Court. There are some views which say that judgment of Supreme Court will not apply if one has not challenged the notice and continued with the assessment proceeding. Then in para 6.1, a very typical direction has been given or a finding has been given that decisions of the Honorable Supreme Court read with the time extension provided by TOLA will allow the extended reassessment notices to travel back in time to their original date when such notices were to be issued, and new section 149 of the Act is to be applied at that point. कहना ये चाह रहे हैं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट and because of the extension provided by TOLA, we are allowed to travel back in time, and these notices will be deemed to be issued at the time when they were supposed to be issued, and the new section 149 will apply at that point of time. Now this is completely bogus, completely irrelevant, and this is not what the Supreme Court has held. There is no travel back in time allowed by Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has clearly laid down that, and the department has accepted that, new section will apply from 1/4/21. You cannot say notices are issued or relate back to the original date and उस टाइम पे हम सेक्शन 149 नया वाला लगाएंगे. Absolutely incorrect and baseless. Based on this interpretation, the CBDT has said that AY 13-14, 14-15 and 15-16 can be reopened. It is a case which falls beyond 3 years. Therefore, conditions of section 149, 1B and 151, clause 2 has to be satisfied. And AY 16, 17 and 17, 18 fall within 3 years. And therefore, 149, 1A and 151 are applicable. They also say in para 7.1 that AY 13-14, 14-15 and 15-16, if the income escaping assessment is less than 50 lakhs, then they will not proceed, they will not provide the information, they will close the assessment proceedings. Para 8.1 may they write that notice under section 148 is deemed to be issued under section 148A(b) of the Act, and therefore all the prior requirements are deemed to be complied with. They also state that information will be provided up to 2nd of June. Though assessee has been given 2 weeks to file reply, if any extension has been sought, then such extension shall be granted, but not beyond 30 days, that is provided in section 148A(b). So this is the CBDT instruction. Let us discuss some of the issues which arise out of Supreme Court judgment as well as the CBDT instruction read together. The first and foremost issue is whether the judgment applies to a case where assessee has not filed a writ petition challenging the notice. There are two views prevailing. I am personally of the opinion that Supreme Court judgment only restricts itself to the cases where the writ petition has been filed challenging the notice under section 148 of the Act, either by way of a writ petition, either directly after notice has been issued, or after some time, or after order disposal of objection, at whatever stage you have challenged. If you have come before the High Courts in a writ petition challenging notice under section 148 of the Act, whether your writ petition is pending or whether your writ petition has been disposed of, Supreme Court judgment will apply. Meaning thereby, it will not apply to a case where you have not challenged the notice by way of a writ petition. There are a number of findings in the Supreme Court judgment where they clearly refer to the pending cases before the High Court and the cases where department is planning to file SLP before the Supreme Court. Most importantly, the case before the Supreme Court was a case where directly notice under section 148 was challenged. And therefore, the Supreme Court laid down the procedure that let it start again by deeming it to be a show cause notice. Now, that procedure cannot be applied, especially in a case where the department has proceeded with the assessment proceeding and are at an advanced stage. For example, I have seen cases where even the assessment order has been passed. In such case, there is no provision to recall the order. आपने एक बार assessment order pass कर दिया तो pass कर दिया under old law. And in such case, I can definitely challenge in an appeal before CIT appeal that you have followed the old law. Supreme Court has laid down that after 1/4/21 new law is applicable. Therefore, the assessment has to be quashed and set aside. Or cases where objections have been disposed of or show cause notice has been issued. These are the cases where both the assessee and the revenue have proceeded as if it's under the old law, with the assessee reserving the right to challenge that it has to be under new law. In such cases, Supreme Court judgment cannot be applied. Now, even if one reads Article 142 of the Constitution, there again, Article 142 clearly says that a judgment will apply in the facts of the case. And if it has to be applied to all other cases all over India, it has to be done by way of any law or by way of any ordinance to be promulgated by the President. A Supreme Court in its judgment cannot say that this will apply to all cases. So because of all these reasons, I am of the view that Supreme Court judgment should not apply to cases where notice has not been challenged in a writ petition. तो आपका सबसे पहला argument, if in such cases you have received a fresh notice and fresh information material, you have to point out that Supreme Court judgment does not apply. You have proceeded under the old law. Please continue, and I reserve my right to challenge. At the same time, the second view which is existing is that judgment at 2 or 3 places have written that it will apply pan-India, and therefore it should apply to all cases whether or not you have filed writ remedy. And this has also been specified in the CBDT instruction in para 5.1. First and foremost, CBDT instruction is not binding on either the appellate authorities or on the assessees. It's only binding on the income tax officers or the assessing officers. Just yesterday, Telangana High Court has passed an order that a CBDT instruction or circular is not binding on CIT appeal. And we have Supreme Court judgments, Hero and every other judgments, KP Varghese and other, which says that the CBDT circulars and instructions are not binding on the court. So therefore, this view also is there that it applies to pending cases where even writ has not been filed. My personal view, it will not apply. But in such cases, if this view is accepted, then at whatever stage your proceeding is pending, whether or not you have filed a return in response to 148, whether a show cause has been issued, whether objections have been disposed of or not, it will start once again by treating 148 notice to be a 148A-B notice, a show cause notice. Then if they continue with the 148A-D order, they will issue a 148 notice. In response to that, आपको वापस एक बार return file करना पड़ेगा, and the proceeding will go on. Assessment year 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, as discussed later, will become time bar. So the first issue. The second issue which arises, what about assessment year 13, 14, 14, 15, and 15, 16? Though section 149 says it can be reopened up to 10 years. First proviso to section 149(1) says that no notice under section 148 can be issued if such notice could not have been issued for the years, assessment years 21, 22, and prior assessment years, under the old law. अगर आप पुराने provision में, prior to the amendment, if you could not have reopened any particular assessment year, then those years you cannot reopen under the new law. Meaning thereby, up to assessment year 2021, 13, 14 से लेके 2021, all the assessment years can be reopened under the new law only up to 6 years. Though the time limit is 10 years, but because of the first proviso, you can reopen these assessment years only up to 6 years. Coming to AY 13, 14, and 14, 15, these 2 years, the last day to issue notice under the old law 148 was 31st March 21. Since 31st March 21 was the last day to issue notice under section 148 in respect of AY 13, 14, and 14, 15, therefore, when you will issue notice in respect of AY 13, 14, and 14, 15, after disposing the objection under 148 AD, that is somewhere in June or July 2022, at such point of time, you cannot reopen AY 13, 14, 14, 15 under the old law, and therefore you cannot reopen it under the new law as well. Now, somebody will argue that notification number 20 and 38 जो टोला में लेके आए थे वो लोग, जहां पे उन्होंने एक्सटेंड किया था फर्स्टली अप टू 30th of April and then up to 30th June. By virtue of the notification, they had extended the time limit to issue notice under old law up to 30th June. My personal view is explanation to the notification that you can issue notice under 148 under the old law up to 30th June has been struck down by Delhi, Bombay, Madras, Calcutta, and Rajasthan High Court. Since it has been struck down, therefore notification number 20 and 38 will not have any impact. And since you're issuing notice at this stage AY 13, 14, and 14, 15 has become time barred. Coming to AY 15, 16, AY 1516 has become time barred on 31st March 22 because of first proviso to section 149(1). Last day to issue notice under the old law was 31st March 22, and therefore आप लोगों ने नोटिस किया रहेगा कि AY 1516 की काफी सारी नोटिस इस साल में आ गई है, because according to the department also AY 1516 can be reopened only up to 31st March 22. So taking this point forward, 148A(B) show cause notice which they had issued in 2021 is a valid notice because at that point of time it has not become time barred. But as on today, आज जब वो डिस्पोज करेंगे आपके ऑब्जेक्शन अंडर 148A clause D and they will issue notice under section 148 after, say for example 15 June, after disposing of the objections, as on 15 June or hereafter 1516 has become time barred and therefore they cannot reopen AY 1516. So my personal view, AY 1314, 1415 and 1516 have become time barred. Coming to AY 1617 and 1718, AY 1617 and 1718 can be reopened under the new law. But if you reopen it under the new law, it is reopened beyond 3 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. Therefore, one has a defense under section 149(1)(b), that is, heir should be in possession of books of accounts, documents or evidence which reveal that income in the form of asset more than 50 lakh rupees has escaped assessment. Now, mind you, department has taken a view that AY 1617 and 1718 are deemed to be issued within 3 years. This view is absolutely incorrect. As a result, department will not satisfy the condition of 149(1)(b). They will reopen even if it is below 50 lakhs. They will reopen even if income has not escaped assessment in the form of asset. They will reopen even if they don't have within their possession books of accounts, documents or evidences. That will be a very good case for us to argue in an appellate proceeding or in a writ proceeding. Third issue will be sanction and approval. Section 148A read with section 151. Before issuing show cause notice under 148A(B), prior to amendment by Finance Act 2022, before issuing show cause notice, they had to take an approval of a specified authority. Specified authority is specified in section 151. Under section 151, specified authority, if it is within 3 years, is principal commissioner, and if it is beyond 3 years, it is principal chief commissioner of income tax. So AY 1314, 1415, 1516, 1617 and 1718, assuming all 5 years can be reopened, all the 5 years are reopened beyond 3 years, and therefore before issuing a notice under section 148A clause B, they had to take sanction of principal chief commissioner of income tax. Now what Supreme Court has done, Supreme Court has deemed the 148 notice to be issued, deemed the notice issued under section 148 as issued under section 148A(B) of the Act. So Supreme Court ने notice को तो deem कर दिया है that it has been issued under 148A(B) of the Act, but जो जुना 148 notice issue हुआ है, that has been issued with the prior approval of principal commissioner and joint commissioner under the old law. Under the old law, sanction had to be taken of principal commissioner and joint commissioner. Principal commissioner is more than 4 years, joint commissioner is less than 4 years. So they had issued notices under the old law. They had to take sanction of principal commissioner and joint commissioner, जो उन्होंने लिया है. Now these notices are deemed to be notice issued under the new law, under 148A(B). Requirement of taking sanction of principal chief commissioner has not been dispensed with by the Supreme Court. Therefore, our argument before in response to 148A(B) notice would be that this 148A(B) notice is bad in law, since you have taken approval of principal commissioner or joint commissioner for these 5 years, and you should have taken approval of principal chief commissioner. And there are a lot of judgments, including Supreme Court, Delhi High Court, Bombay High Court, that if a particular job has to be done in a particular manner, sanction has to be granted by a particular officer, then such sanction cannot be granted by any other officer. In such case, we can argue that the show cause notice is bad in law. Subsequently, after considering your objection, they will pass order disposing objection under 148A(D) of the Act, and they will issue notice under section 148 of the Act. Now, this order and this notice has to be issued after the approval of, again, if it is beyond 3 years, by Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax, and if it is within 3 years, by Principal Commissioner of Income Tax. Department in the instruction has stated that AY 16, 17 and 17, 18 are within 3 years, and therefore in all likelihood they will take sanction of Principal Commissioner, and we can argue that you have taken approval of wrong authority. It is beyond 3 years, you should have taken sanction of Principal Chief Commissioner. In respect of the show cause notice under 148AB, where we have discussed that the sanction has not been taken and Supreme Court has not been dispensed with, CBDT in the instruction para 8.1 has taken a view that since the court has deemed such notice to be issued under 148AB of the Act, therefore it is deemed that all the prior requirements have been complied with. This very statement of CBDT itself says that Supreme Court has not given any such direction, and it is your interpretation and you are deeming the notice to be issued after complying with the requirement of sanction of appropriate authority. Time limit to provide material information is up to 3rd June. CBDT has set to 2nd June. So even in case a writ petition is pending before the High Court, stay has been granted, not yet disposed of, in all cases, AO will have to provide material information up to 3rd June. What law they will apply? Will they apply law prior to Finance Act 20, before the amendment by Finance Act 2022, or they will apply law as amended by Finance Act 2022? Though it could have been a debatable issue, but department has clearly accepted that we will apply the law prior to amendment by Finance Act 2022. Therefore, this is important from two perspectives. Firstly, under section 149, there is a huge amendment that if it is reopened beyond 3 years, then you would have to take approval. Then you could have reopened only if you were in the possession of books of accounts, documents, information which revealed income as escaped assessment in the form of asset. ये amendment के पहले था. Amendment के बाद बोलता है income represented in the form of asset, expenditure in relation to any transaction or event, or any book entry or entry in the books of accounts. So they have expanded the scope of section 149(1)(b) beyond 3 years up to 10 years. Department has accepted that we will follow law as applicable as on finance, as applicable before the amendment by Finance Act 2022. With this was most important point which one should keep in mind, that section, as Narayan ji ने point किया था, section 147 से लेके 151 are all jurisdictional requirements. किसी भी एक section का jurisdictional requirements are not fulfilled, then the entire reassessment proceeding has to go. Onus to prove that all the jurisdictional conditions have been fulfilled is on the assessing officer. If the assessing officer is not able to demonstrate कि हमारे पास information है which suggests income as escaped assessment, या 149(1)(b) का condition has been fulfilled, या 151 का sanction has been taken, in such cases the reassessment proceeding has to go. Onus is on the department to show all the conditions have been fulfilled. Article 142 is something which at this stage is not required because
for the interruption. Hello, everyone is please to stay on mute. Hello.
yes.
सभी साथियों से निवेदन है कि स्पीकर को बोलने दीजिए विदाउट इंटरप्शन. आपके क्वेश्चन को हो तो बाद में करिएगा. थैंक यू.
Thank you. Now, Supreme Court has most importantly held that all the defenses available with the assessee under section 149 or under any other section are kept open. Therefore, in reply to your 148AB notice, we have to take various defenses. Some of the defenses which we can take is given in this slide. Firstly, when I compare section 147 after amendment and before amendment, the most important thing which I find is old section mein the wordings were AO has reason to believe income as escaped assessment, whereas new section mein the word reason to believe has been removed. You will remember that under the old section, because of the word reason to believe, there were various court judgments, including the Supreme Court and Calcutta High Court and all other high courts, that at the stage of reassessment, there is no need for a conclusive finding income as escaped assessment. It will be sufficient if there is a prima facie view that income has escaped assessment. If there is a reasonable belief that income has escaped assessment. Since that word, the words reason to believe has been removed, therefore now we can argue that at the stage of reassessment, AO must have formed a belief or a conclusion that income has escaped assessment. He cannot merely say reason to believe. Change of opinion. If the reassessment proceeding is based on change of opinion, the same is not permissible. Supreme Court judgment in Calvinator will apply. Then some of the other arguments pertaining to notice and order, it has to be issued by jurisdictional assessing officer or faceless assessing officer, which will one have to verify. Then one cannot reopen for the purpose of making verification or for making fishing and roving inquiries. In fact, old section mein Supreme Court says reason to believe income has escaped assessment. Supreme Court in case of Lakmani Mewal Das, Parshuram Pottery has held that there should be live link or nexus or connection between reason and belief income has escaped assessment. You cannot reopen for making further inquiry. Since reason to believe itself has been removed, now there is more stricter condition on the department to reopen the assessment. They should form a conclusion that income has escaped assessment. They cannot reopen for making further verification or inquiry. Then various arguments relating to issue and service of notice, like beyond time limit, at the wrong address, or unsigned notice, or not delivered properly, not on email, not by way of post, only uploaded on the portal. Mind you, only uploading on the portal is not a valid service or issue of notice as per section 282 of the Income Tax Act, read with rule 127 of the income tax rules. Notice or any order has to be either issued by way of email or it has to be issued either by way of post. AO cannot just say कि मैंने तो portal पे डाल दिया, deemed to be service. No, it is not. Then other argument which we take is approval of specified authorities at various stage after application of mine. The approving authority cannot just say approved or yes or allowed or sanction granted. They have to apply their mind and form proper belief that this is a fit case to issue notice under 148 of the Act. Some of the new jurisdictional requirements are to issue notice under section 148. AO must have information which suggests that income has escaped assessment. This is by virtue of first proviso to section 148. And what do you mean by info? First explanation 1 to section, the first proviso to section 148, and then explanation 1 to section 148 describes what do you mean by information which suggest income escape assessment. During the Finance Act 2021, prior to amendment by Finance Act 2022, there were only two situations where AO has information which suggests income has escaped assessment. First was any information flagged with the risk management strategy formulated by the board. Two, any final objection by Comptroller and Auditor General of India that assessment in case of the SSE for the relevant assessment year has not been made in accordance with the provision of the Act. If the AO satisfies that the case falls either within A or B, then only he can reopen the assessment. Since at the stage of initiation he has to conclude that income has escaped assessment, therefore one can at this stage try to take cross-examination before the order under 148AD is passed. In all likelihood, cross-examination request would be rejected and they would say that आपको हम assessment के time पे opportunity देंगे. Then the most important requirement of section 149(1)(b), of course today time is limited, otherwise we could have dealt with this issue in detail. If you reopen after 3 years, assessing officer has in his possession माने उसके पास होना चाहिए, क्या होना चाहिए? Books of accounts or documents or evidence. For the first time, word evidence has been used in the Income Tax Act. So this books of accounts, documents or evidence is something which is more than mere information suggesting income escaping assessment. 148 का requirement है information suggesting income escaping assessment, but 149(1)(b) का requirement है AO should have in his possession books of accounts, documents or information. These three items should reveal, they have used the word reveal, that income has escaped assessment of more than 50 lakhs. Reveal मतलब ये तीन documents को देख के one should come to a conclusion that income has escaped assessment. Clearly, you cannot reopen to make further inquiry or fishing or roving inquiries. And all the cases up from 31st March to 30th June, income has to escape assessment only in the form of asset. Only in the form of asset, income has to escape assessment. They cannot reopen if you have claimed wrong expenses, bogus expenses. They cannot reopen if your liability has reduced. They cannot reopen if you have offered income to tax at a lower rate, because no income has escaped assessment in the form of asset. Lastly, One of the jurisdictional requirement is procedural requirement of opportunity of being heard and order under section 148A(d). Now, this is how I would proceed to file my draft reply in response to 148A(b) notice. Firstly, I will write the facts in brief, details of return of income filed, on which date it was filed. If I am required to get my books of account audited, then the tax audit report. And if there is any prior scrutiny assessment, then I'll give details of prior scrutiny assessment and prior scrutiny assessment order. Second,
Dharan bhai, sorry to interrupt you.
Huh.
I have discussed with the organizers
Huh.
and they have said that you may kindly continue 15 minutes more. That is till 5:15.
okay.
Thank
Thank
you, sir.
Thank you. So this will be my first point, facts in brief. And the second point, I'll give background of the new reassessment provisions of the Act. If you read the budget speech of the Honorable Finance Minister when the new reassessment provisions were brought in, it was clearly written that we want to reduce litigation. Plus, as we already discussed, that the onus is on the department to prove all the jurisdiction requirements has been satisfied. Therefore, in second para, I will write that the new reassessment provisions have been brought in to reduce litigation. There is a change from the old to new procedures. Under the new provisions, there are new jurisdictional requirements specified under 147, 148, 148A, 149, 151. Onus is on the department to prove that all the conditions have been fulfilled. Now, at this stage, let me just make it very clear with the participants. I want to compare old provisions with the new provisions. Old provision में क्या था? वो reasons record करेगा, वो sanction लेगा, and then he will issue 148 notice. उसके बाद हम objections file करते थे, and then order disposing objection आता था. And there were court judgments to the effect that उसने जो एक बार reason record कर दिया ना, that cannot be added, supplemented, improved upon. So when he recorded reason in the old provisions, he did not have any assistance from the assessee. He used to record based on the information available with him. Many a times we have noticed कि उसने बहुत सारी जगह mistake की है. Notice in the name of non-existent person, amalgamation, person का death हो गया, no cognizance, assessment completed, no cognizance, return file, no cognizance, assessment के time पे क्या हुआ, no cognizance, simply information आया and he reopened. Courts have struck down such kind of assessment on the ground of non-application of mine. But now the new procedure they have very smartly amended. जैसे नहीं पहले हम आपको शो कॉज देंगे, आप रिप्लाई फाइल करो, आपका रिप्लाई देखेंगे और फिर हम ऑर्डर पास करेंगे कि व्हाई इट इज अ फिट केस टू इशू नोटिस. So now, because of this, what has happened, they have the benefit of our reply before passing order under section 148AD. And according to me, the order passed under section 148AD is replacing the reasons recorded. अब 148AD का और जो order है, that is the new reasons recorded. उसके अलावा they cannot show anything why they have reopened the assessment. Therefore, at the stage of drafting your 148AB reply, you have to be very careful that you don't provide him information such that he improves his order or he gets better information. You have to be very careful. आपको उसको inputs नहीं देना है. For example, उसके notice में लिखा हुआ आ रहा है कि I have received information that your income has been charged to tax at a lesser rate, therefore income has escaped assessment. This is beyond 3 years. तो आप reply में क्या डालोगे? आप reply में डालोगे नहीं 141B के हिसाब से you have not shown how income has escaped assessment in the form of asset, because merely because the tax has been levied at a lower rate, you cannot reopen the assessment. अब ये उसको information मिली है. या take a case where you have claimed certain penny stock ka loss, capital loss, and set it off against some income. He wants to disallow the loss, saying the loss is bogus in nature. You will write that it is beyond 3 years. Such loss, income is not represented in the form of asset, loss is not an asset, expense is not an asset, and therefore you cannot reopen. तो अब वो क्या करेगा? जब उसको order pass करना है, तो he will improve upon his reasons. वो क्या लिखेगा? No, because you have reduced the loss from your other income. Therefore, income represented in the form of asset has escaped assessment. He has got an opportunity to improve his case. Therefore, my humble suggestion is, at the stage of filing objections, हमको क्या करना है, हमको सिर्फ अपने रिप्लाई में लिखा है यू प्लीज प्रूव हाउ द कंडीशंस ऑफ 149 1B हैव बीन फुलफिल्ड. You have to demonstrate how it has been fulfilled. So this is a very minute thing which one should keep in mind. Then if it pertains to AY 13, 14, 14, 15 and 15, 16, at the outset you clarify it has become time barred under section 149 1B. You cannot issue notice under section 148 of the act. Therefore you are requested to drop the reassessment proceeding. Without prejudice to the above, I am filing the following reply. If मैंने काफी सारे केसेस में देखा है कि इन्होंने रीजंस रिकॉर्डेड एंड सैंक्शन टेकन का कॉपी एज इट इज दे दिया आफ्टर सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट. माइंड यू, सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज स्टेटेड दैट ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन एंड मटेरियल हैज टू बी प्रोवाइडेड टू द एसएससी. If in the reasons recorded, the AO is relying upon the information received from the investigation wing or on the inside portal, there is a case of search or survey in case of some party, उसका कुछ statement record हुआ है, उसका कुछ bank statement में आपका transaction reflect हुआ है, etc., etc., then he is duty bound to provide you statement of the party, what material has been seized from him, what is the documentary evidence on which AO is relying. He cannot simply give you the information which is uploaded on the portal, which is a hearsay information of some other officer. साथ में क्या मटेरियल है ये भी उसको देना है. एंड इफ यू हैव नॉट रिसीव्ड सच मटेरियल इंफॉर्मेशन डॉक्यूमेंट्स, प्लीज फाइल अ रिप्लाई immediately stating that please provide me copy of all the information material so that I can file a meaningful reply. And Supreme Court has held that time limit for the SEC to reply, that is 2 weeks, will start from the date when you have been provided all the information and material. तो सपोज आपको 25 मई को नोटिस आ गया है विद इंफॉर्मेशन, बट उन्होंने कुछ मटेरियल डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस दिया नहीं है. आपने उनको 2 जून को लेटर लिखा कि भाई हमको सब मटेरियल डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस दे दो. एंड इफ दैट मटेरियल डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस हैज बीन प्रोवाइडेड, से फॉर एग्जांपल ऑन 10th of June, then from 10th of June your date of reply of 2 weeks will be counted. So my fourth point will be, please provide me all the material as Supreme Court has held. Then I will go on to the jurisdictional requirements of each and every section. Firstly, we have already discussed that section 147, the word reason to believe has been removed, and therefore under the new reassessment provision, he need not simply say, I have reason to believe. He need not simply say, I have information which suggests income has escaped assessment. He has to form a belief that income has really escaped assessment. I have seen cases where they are only providing reasons recorded, wherein they have used the word reasons to believe. In such case, you can file in your draft objection, in your objections, that an assessment under 148 after the amendment can be reopened only if income has escaped assessment and not on the basis of reasons to believe. Therefore, in such scenario, it is submitted that since you're only having a reason to believe, the reassessment proceedings are bad in law. This is the jurisdictional requirement of 147. Then what is the jurisdictional requirement under section 148? 148 may one of the primary condition to issue notices, information which suggests income has escaped assessment. There are 2 types of information we already discussed. In accordance with the risk management strategy formulated by the board, or final objections raised by Comptroller and Auditor General of India. आप आपके reasons पढ़िए, आप आपका information पढ़िए, आप आपके documents पढ़िए. And if you find that you have not been provided, then you should first ask in your notice, please demonstrate how the conditions of first proviso to section 148 has been fulfilled. Please demonstrate what is the information suggesting income escaping assessment. If they write in the notice that it is falling under risk management strategy formulated by the board, then you please write in your objections, please share with us the copy of risk management strategy formulated by the board. Please also demonstrate how the present case fits in the risk management strategy formulated by the board. In my view, there is no such risk management strategy. Risk management strategy इसका मतलब है inside portal. तो इनको inside portal पे जो information आती है, they consider it to be a risk management strategy. So you have to ask him that onus is on you to demonstrate that the reassessment is based on information suggesting income escaping assessment. If it is as per clause 1, please share with us risk management strategy. Please demonstrate how the present case fits in the said strategy. If they say it falls in clause 2, that it is as per the final objections raised by Comptroller and Auditor General of India, then you ask them, please provide us the copy of final objection raised by Comptroller and Auditor General of India, because the objection should of the C and AG should specify that assessment has not been made in accordance with the provision of the act. The audit objection में clearly लिखा हुआ आना चाहिए कि आपका assessment है is not been made in accordance with the provisions of the act. If they fail to provide this, then the reassessment proceeding is bad in law. So हमको उनको नहीं बताना है कि आपका ये फर्स्ट दो कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई नहीं हुआ है, हमको उनको ये बताना है यू प्लीज प्रूव हाउ इट फिट्स विद इन एक्सप्लेनेशन 1 to section 148 and first proviso to section 148. Coming to the next jurisdictional condition of section 148A. First and foremost argument which we have already discussed, that 148 notice has been deemed to be a notice issued under section 148A clause B. However, approval has been taken of either principal commissioner or joint commissioner, and since the reassessment proceeding is beyond 3 years, approval had to be taken of principal chief commissioner. Supreme Court has not dispensed with this requirement of approval. They have specifically dispensed with the requirement of prior inquiry. Therefore, since they have not specifically dispensed with, please demonstrate whether you have taken approval of principal chief commissioner before issuing this 148 notice. If not, it is bad in law. Without prejudice to above, you can also write that the show cause notice has been issued without proper application of mine. Then you can also raise an argument. For example, काफी cases में मैंने देखा है कि 30th June का notice है. Some notices are not signed. Show cause notices are not signed. Some notices of 30th June, but received on 1st of July or 2nd of July. There you can take a plea that it has been served after or issued after 30th June last day, and therefore it is time barred. Or in case where it is issued on a deceased person or entity which is no longer in existence, you can write that the notice is bad in law since it has been issued in the name of a deceased person or an entity no longer in existence. And if it has not been issued at a correct email address or correct address, then you can take that plea in your plan. Then I'll take the argument of section 149, jurisdictional requirement under section 149. AY 1314 to 1516, as we have already discussed, we will write beginning only that it has become time barred. Without prejudice, we will write that please demonstrate what are the books of accounts, documents, or evidence in your possession. Please demonstrate how do they reveal that income has escaped assessment, and please demonstrate has any income represented in the form of asset escaped assessment to the tune of rupees 50 lakh rupees or more. I have seen that whenever they pass order under 148A(d) of the Act, they are simply not going into this 149(1)(b) details. They simply say that 149(1)(b) conditions have been fulfilled, which is not the requirement of section. Section के हिसाब से they should show how these conditions have been fulfilled if it is disputed by the SSC. Coming to assessment year 1617 and 1718, according to us, it is reopened beyond 3 years, and therefore 149(1)(b) conditions have to be fulfilled. But according to them, it has been reopened within 3 years, therefore 149(1)(b) conditions have not been fulfilled. Therefore, we have to simply write in our reply that please show how the jurisdictional requirement of 149(1)(b) conditions have been fulfilled. From the information documentary evidence is provided, it is not clear, or you have not made out a case that provisions of section 149(1)(b) have been satisfied. In absence of the above, it is submitted that notice under section 148 cannot be issued. What are the other jurisdictional requirements I can take? One is change of opinion. Now one can argue that change of opinion applicable नहीं है because वो तो जूने law में था, अभी नए law में applicable नहीं है. But please look at this finding of Supreme Court in case of Calvinator of India Limited 320 ITR 561. Supreme Court has clearly held that we must also keep in mind the conceptual difference between power to review and power to reassessment. Assessing officer has no power to review, has the power to reassessment. Reassessment has to be based on fulfillment of certain preconditions. And if the concept of change of opinion is removed, then in the garb of reopening the assessment, review would take place. One must treat the concept of change of opinion as an inbuilt test to check the abuse of power by the AO. So change of opinion is not going anywhere. It is still here. It's an inbuilt test prescribed by the Supreme Court. ओल्ड लॉ में भी आप कौन सी भी सेक्शन 147 से लेके 153 तक कोई भी सेक्शन पढ़ो, कहीं पे भी ऐसा नहीं लिखा है कि चेंज ऑफ ओपिनियन में आप रीओपन नहीं कर सकते. दैट इज व्हाट डिपार्टमेंट राइट टू आर्ग्यू. सुप्रीम कोर्ट से नथिंग डूइंग. अगर एक बार पहले वेरीफाई कर दिया है तो आप बार बार एसएससी को परेशान नहीं करोगे. यू कैन नॉट रिव्यू योर ऑर्डर जस्ट बिकॉज द सब्सिक्वेंट ऑफिसर या आपको ऑडिट विंग या आपका इन्वेस्टिगेशन विंग हैज अ डिफरेंट व्यू. Similarly, you cannot reopen to make further verification and inquiry. अगर आपके जो इंफॉर्मेशन और मटेरियल जो आपको प्रोवाइड हुआ है उसमें ऐसा लिखा है कि दिस एस्पेक्ट्स नीड वेरिफिकेशन, दिस एस्पेक्ट हैज टू बी वेरीफाइड फर्दर, then in that case, you can take an objection in your 148B reply that you cannot reopen to make further verification inquiry or to form a belief that income has escaped assessment. Coming to the merits of the issue, lastly, my reply will contain a submission on the merits. I will submit all the documentary evidence which I want to rely upon as if this is the last submission. Why? As we already discussed that notice under section that reason to believe words have been removed. As a result, at this stage itself, they have to form a conclusion or a belief that income has escaped assessment. If at this stage they have to conclude, then at this stage itself, I have to file all documentary evidences. तो मेरे को सारे documentary evidence file करना है. For example, if it's a case of penny stock, purchase contract notes, purchase का demat statement, bank statement showing payment by way of banking channel. Then if sale transactions के contract notes, demat statement, and the banking proof that it has been received by way of this STT certificate transfer on the stock exchange. This every document has to be shown that it's a genuine transaction. If it's a bogus purchase, I will show my invoice. I will show the delivery challan. I will show payment made by a banking channel. Everything I will show at this stage itself. If it's an incorrect, incomplete information, I've seen some cases where they say that you have paid on money to the builder. Konsa project? I don't know. Konsa flat? I don't know. Or they have some random information, but it is not completely coming out in the reply, in the information which they are providing. Please write in your submission that your information or the show cause notice is vague, ambiguous. It does not convey the correct picture, and I am not able to reply properly. In any case, on merits, this is a submission. As pointed out by Narayan sir, sometimes शो कॉज नोटिस में लिखा है कि आपने प्रॉपर्टी परचेज की है 60 lakhs की या आपने प्रॉपर्टी सेल की है 60 lakhs की, but you have not filed return. Therefore, I have a reason. Therefore, I want to reopen your assessment. Purchase of property cannot lead to a belief income has escaped assessment. If there is a cash deposit in the account, the cash deposit in the bank account, or there are certain credit entries in the bank account, that cannot lead to a conclusion that income has escaped assessment. Whether such cash deposit or whether such credit is my income or not, that has to be verified by them prior to reopening the assessment. That is why वो 148 AA में power to inquiry दिया है उनको. Merely because there is some cash deposit, there is some credit entry, just because assessee has transferred some property, just because assessee has purchased some property and assessee has not filed his return of income, does not mean income has escaped assessment. We have some tribunal and high court judgments in context of old law. Old law में तो चलो उनको reason to believe चाहिए था, which was a less strict requirement. Khali reason to believe चाहिए at the stage of reopening. In those cases, courts have held that mere deposit in the bank account, a mere purchase of property does not amount to or cannot give any reason to believe. But under the new law, need not have reason to believe. You should have or you should form a belief that income has escaped assessment, and mere deposit in the bank account or purchase of property cannot give you this belief. Lastly, you have to submit that on merits, no income has escaped assessment. And you can also seek personal hearing, but be very cautious. Reason being, under 149(1), third proviso, time limit to issue notice under section 148 for computing the time limit of 3 years and 6 years or 10 years, time limit given to assessee to reply is excluded. So कभी-कभी क्या होता है, मेरे एक केस में हुआ था 31st March को they issued show cause notice and I filed a reply. Last day to file reply was 11th April. Third proviso to section 149 says that time limit given to assessee to file reply shall be excluded. They gave me time up to 11th April. I filed my reply on 11th April. That time has to be excluded. If that time is excluded, he had to issue notice under 148 on the very next day, on the 12th of April. He did not issue notice. Of course, they rely on fourth proviso, वो एक अलग controversy which we will see later on. But I sought personal hearing. अब मैंने personal hearing मांगा तो उसने मेरे को personal hearing में additional time grant किया and therefore he got more time to complete the or issue the notice under 148. So seeking personal hearing is again a very tricky issue. अगर आपका एकदम last moment पे notice issue हुआ time barring date पे, then in such case be very slow in asking personal hearing. So this is how I'll file my draft reply. Now there are some checklist for what to do after order has been passed under section 148 AD. Please check for the following jurisdictional requirement. Firstly, section 148 AD order is like reasons recorded. It cannot be improved upon. It cannot be supplemented later on. So आपको that is conclusion. Uske basis pe you have to see whether all your contentions arguments have been dealt with, all the jurisdictional arguments as well as on merits have been dealt with. Is it a speaking order? Is there any violation of natural justice? Whether prior approval of specified authority has been taken. Since AY 1314 to 1718 is beyond 3 years, approval of principal chief commissioner has to be taken. Is the order issued in the name of correct entity? Is the order not time barred? Time barring का भी एक important argument है. Similarly, simultaneously with 148 AD order, you will get 148 notice. You have to check prior approval is taken, its name of the correct entity, it has been served at the proper address, it is not time barred or not. Against this 148A order, it's not an appealable order. You had to file a writ petition. In fact, GK and drive shaft, whatever procedure was laid down has been accepted by the Bombay High Court, has now been brought into the statute book by way of 148A. जो आपका objection, reasons, objections and order disposing objections, ये 3 steps थे. ये 148A में court, the legislature has brought it in the statute book, and therefore Bombay High Court and Supreme Court has held that the Supreme Court judgment and these directions have been codified in the form of 148A. But you cannot file any appeal. There is no appeal provision. Therefore, you have to file a writ petition. One can also file an appeal. There is this view which is prevailing, relying on the Supreme Court judgment in case of Genpact India Limited, wherein the court has held that since if one denies his liability to assess under the Act, then that order is appealable before Commissioner appeals. Since under 148 AD you are denying your liability to be assessed under the Act, one can take a view it's an appealable order. But in my view, this view is not that a possible view. In any case, one should file a writ if one wants to get a stay, because अगर CIT bill के पास आप गए तो आपको stay नहीं मिलेगा. Assessment proceedings will continue. There is no provision or remedy of going under section 264 revision of order, because the order has been passed either with the approval of chief principal commissioner or with the approval of principal chief commissioner. Now, one fundamental issue is under section 151A. There the government was empowered to come out with a scheme to notify faceless scheme for reassessment proceedings. They have come out with the notification number 18 of 2022 dated 29th March 2022, and as per such notification, even the issuance of notice under 148, passing of order under 148A(d) has to be done in a faceless manner. Therefore, one can take an argument if the jurisdictional AO passes the order and issues notice under 148, that it had to be done in faceless manner, and since you have not done in a faceless manner, it is without jurisdiction and bad in law. So that is from my side. This is a taxpayer starter which I remind everybody every time I speak on any topic. And the Supreme Court judgment in case of Gotla, very beautiful judgment. The equity and taxation are often strangers. Attempts should be made that this do not always remain so. And if a construction results in equity rather than in injustice, then such construction should be preferred to the literal construction. So thank you very much, and I think now time for the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
शरद भाई, शरद सवायका जी,
हाँ बोलो सर।
ये धरण भाई के लिए क्वेश्चन अभी करेंगे। धरण भाई आप रहेंगे थोड़ी देर और? धरण जी आप रहेंगे लास्ट तक?
Yeah, I am here.
थैंक यू सर। तो क्वेश्चन आपकी परमिशन से बाद में ले ले मैं?
Yes.
ठीक, थैंक यू। अब आगे बढ़ाइए, गिरधारी भाई गाड़ी आगे बढ़ाइए।
हाँ, तो अभी क्या क्वेश्चंस लेंगे क्या कि आगे पैनल वालों को बुलाएं?
नहीं, पैनल तो सुभाष जी का परिचय करके उनको दीजिए, मॉडरेटर को।
ठीक है।
So, I would request Girdhari ji to please introduce our panel speaker, Mr. Subhash Agarwal.
I request Naveen to introduce the panelist and moderator of the today's evening. Naveen.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Subhash Agarwal, sir, is an advocate. He is a rank holder in LLB examination held by the Calcutta University in 1992. Sir is enrolled as a member of the Bar Association in Calcutta High Court in 1991 and started practicing there in civil writ and taxation matters. At present, Sir practices mainly in the income tax litigation field before the CIT Appeals, ITAT and High Court, and has also appeared before the Supreme Court on several matters. So far, he has appeared 1,000+ tax litigation matters in the last 20 years, and around 250 matters have been reported in various reputed tax journals and websites. Of late, he has handled various Benami law matters as well. Sir was elected as the committee member of the Income Tax Bar Association, Calcutta twice, and also as a treasurer twice. Sir was elected as the president of DTPA, one of the largest organization of tax practitioners in East India, for the term 2009-10. Sir has written several research articles on taxation, which have appeared in reputed journals like the CA Journals, Taxman, Income Tax Reports, ITR, ITAT Online. He had a regular feature, quote, replies to queries on income tax, unquote, for continuous 3 years in the ANMI journal published by the Association of National Exchanges Members of India. Sir has addressed a large number of seminars on income tax issues on invitation from the bodies like ICAI, Calcutta High Court Bar Association, All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, DTPA, Income Tax Bar Association, Commercial Tax Bar Association, etc. Sir is regularly entrusted with the task of framing moot court problems and is in the judging panel of the Justice Dr. B.P. Saraf Tax Moot Court competition organized by the AIFTP and National University of Juridical Sciences from 2014 onwards, where all the prominent law universities and colleges of the country participate. With this, I welcome you, sir. Next, I have the honor of introducing Tapasi, sir. Welcome, sir. Sir's introduction is quite long, so to save time, I will just pick up some points and introduce him. Sir is a CA and a law graduate from Government Law College. Sir is the past president of the BCAS and CTC. Sir has co-authored many professional books, and the title include Taxation and Accounting of Shares and Securities, FBT, Search, Seizure and Survey, Stamp Duty, Digest of Case Laws, a tax companion published by AIFTP, Taxation of Firms and Partners, AOP, BOI, and JV FAQs, International Taxation, Wills and Succession, HUF, Law and Taxation, Search and Seizure, Block Assessment, Special IT Assessment Procedure. Sir is a regular contributor of articles in professional magazines and various newspapers and magazines, such as co-author of monthly feature Controversies in BCA Journal, the Economic Times and such other leading newspapers, Income Tax Review, the Chambers Journal, AIFTP Journal for Tax Professionals. Sir is on the editorial board of the Chartered Accountant Journal of ICAI, the Chambers Journal, and discharged editorial function for All India Federation of Tax Practitioners for Tax Professionals, BCA referential and Income Tax Review. Sir has addressed various seminars and conferences.
Please mute all. Please mute all, Anshul. Carry on, Naveen.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Naveen, can you please unmute yourself? You are muted.
Thank you. Sir was a lecturer and visiting faculty at the Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies on the subject taxation for 12 years and at IIM on the subject corporate taxation. Last, Sir is a regular trekker and is fond of traveling, and with his team engages in various social and charitable works. With this, I welcome you, sir. Next, I have the honor to introduce Paras Kochar, sir. Paras sir is an advocate, author, and tax consultant practicing in Kolkata. Is a speaker of repute and is regularly addressing in the seminars and webinars on direct taxes across the country. He has so far visited more than 26 cities of India for delivering his lectures. He primarily focuses on search, seizure, and survey appeals and consultancy matters across the country. Various business houses regularly invite him for his unique workshop on search and seizure and survey for enriching their knowledge. Mr. Kosher has written a book on practical aspects on survey, search, and seizure in question and answer form. He is authoring another book on Plan Your Future Ruble Succession Trust, which shall be released soon. Sir not only speaks and writes on income tax topics, but also speaks and writes on other topics such as motivations, spirituality, astrology. He also runs a YouTube channel called Swastik Knowledge Care for sharing his views on different topics. Sir has also appeared live on TV channels to discuss various topics of Income Tax Act. He has also been the erstwhile president of DTPA, Lions Club of Tollygunj, Avantika, and vice president of Tax Advocates Association of Bengal and BPT Bar Professional Association. With this, I welcome you, sir. Next, I have the honor to introduce our guest speaker, SS Gupta, sir. Sir has acquired his CA qualification in 1973 at an early age of 19, securing first rank in Eastern region in CA final examination. Sir has worked as VP Finance with the AB Birla Group, established S. Swaroop and Company in 1984, and over the years has gained immense experience and expertise in income tax. Sir provides expert tax consultancy to various CAs and advocates. He is a renowned expert in the field of taxation. Mr. Gupta regularly represents his clients before various appellate tribunals. Owing to his expertise and experience, he is a regular speaker in various seminars and synopsiums organized by various industry bodies, chambers of commerce, and ICAI. Sir has addressed synopsiums in Singapore, Thailand, Nepal, etc. on topics like double taxation avoidance agreement. Some of his professional associations and affiliations are: he is the co-opted member, Direct Tax Committee for ICAI for 2015-16. Sir is a life member of Association of Corporate Executives and Advisors, Kolkata. Sir is a life member of DTPA, Kolkata, member of Merchant Chamber of Commerce, Kolkata. Sir has traveled widely to USA, UK, France, Switzerland, Dubai, Kuwait, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Nepal, and where not to disseminate his knowledge. With this, I welcome you, sir. Now, I would like Subhash, sir, to take over and moderate the session. Thank you so much, sir.
President of this august body, Sarojji, Secretary Sri Girdhari Lalji Sarma, Chairman of the session Sri Narayan Jain, Speaker Advocate Dharan Gandhi, and our panelists of the day, CA Pradeep Kapashi, Advocate Paras Kochar, CA SS Gupta. Good evening to all the friends. I am grateful once again to the Views Exchange for granting me this opportunity in quick succession to moderate a panel discussion on the live topic of Section 148, to be precise, how to respond to notice under Section 148. I really feel privileged that I am moderating a great panel. We have heard the profile of the panelists from our friend. Mr. Kapasi is the author and great speaker. Any difficulty, friends?
तो येड़ा क्यों मांग रहे हो वापस?
Kindly,
You may please continue, sir. Please continue.
Everyone
Paras
is-
Kuchar ji is like my elder brother, and he has mentored me from the very beginning of my professional career as an advocate. Sri Gupta ji is a well-known speaker, and we often meet at ITAT. And Sri Narayan Jain, last but not the least, under him only I learned the nuances of income tax. I'm always grateful to him. Friends, now I think, friends, my appreciation to the learned speaker who has exhaustively and very nicely explained the issue in great detail. And at the end of this session, we are now much wiser, and we are now capable of dealing with some intricate issues also. We'll,
जब वो फोटो क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है, फेस
अभी ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Better है, better है.
बेसिकली वॉइस क्लियर होनी चाहिए सर.
कैमरा थोड़ा सा advance.
हाँ अभी ठीक है, I think.
एकदम sir.
So friends, a lot of water has flown down the river Ganges on the issue, because I think a record number of seminars and study circles have been conducted on this issue. So I'm not saying anything on the topic, but straightforward, I'm coming to the pleasant task of moderating the session with great panel. Friends, as per norms, the first question should go to the guest, because of the three panel, one is the guest and two other panelists are our homegrown speakers. But question ऐसा है कि पहला question मैं पारस कोचर जी से पूछूंगा. पारस जी, पारस जी हैं क्या? पारस जी हैं ना?
हाँ हाँ पारस जी हैं.
Hi, sir.
पारस जी, पहला क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ, because I want to start the session on a very lighter note. सर आपने अभी एक मीटिंग चल गई है. जब ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट आया तो आपने शेयर किया व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में अपना व्यू, कि आपका ये व्यू था कि ये अल्टीमेटली हाई कोर्ट की व्यू सस्टेन नहीं होगी. तो सर ये व्यू अभी हमारे बंधु ने बताया, आप ज्योतिष भी हैं, ज्योतिष शास्त्र का आपको नॉलेज है. सर ये मेयरली हंच था, या जो पहली रीट किसी ने फाइल करी थी हिंदुस्तान में, उसका शनि का 7.5 ही चल रहा था, या और कोई वजह थी?
शिवाजी, इफ यू रिमेम्बर, जब ये 148 जब न्यूली इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था, तो फर्स्ट जो पैनल हुआ था अपना अवंतिका का, वी ऑल वी शेयर्ड, उसमें अपने दोनों ही थे, और उसमें भी मैंने ये कहा था कि लीगली इसका कोई भी कुछ भी हो, वी ऑल वेर इन द फेयर ऑफ द फाइलिंग द रिट, एंड इट वाज वेरी करेक्ट आल्सो, लीगली और कोई उपाय भी नहीं था. लेकिन मैंने एक बात कही थी कि भी आप चाहे अपने रिट में जीत जाए, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, गवर्नमेंट या तो उसको अमेंड कर देगी क्योंकि उसमें फाइनेंस बिल नहीं आया था, और या फिर कुछ न कुछ गवर्नमेंट ऐसा करेगी कि इसमें रिलीफ बहुत जल्दी मिल नहीं पाएगी एसएससी को. ये मैंने कहा था, हमारे कुछ बोर्ड मेंबर से जो बात हुई थी, उन्होंने कहा हम लोग कोई भी हालत में इसको छोड़ेंगे नहीं, और देख लिया उस तरह की सिचुएशन करीब करीब बन रही है, और इसीलिए मैंने वो जो शेयर किया था व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में, इसीलिए हमने शेयर किया.
Thank you, Paresh ji. Second question. Now we are on a serious note. Second question, हमारे जो guest panelist हैं, Mr. Pradeep Kapasi, I'm directing that question to him. Pradeep ji, ये first proviso to section 149(1).
Yes.
ये जो है, it is causing a lot of confusion because there is a difference of opinion in the interpretation of section first proviso to section 49, subsection 1. To be precise, sir, one view is that you have to see that a notice gets time barred on the day when the Finance Act commences. One view is that. Another view is that you have to see whether the notice is time barred on the date of issue of notice.
Very well.
First view is basically based on various court decisions. I think JP Jani, Calcutta High Court is there. Some Supreme Court decisions are also there. जहाँ पर ये बोल रहा है कि जब नया फाइनेंस एक्ट कमेंस हो रहा है तो पुराना जो है it dies its natural death. तो फर्स्ट डे को हम देखेंगे कि whether it is time barred under the old law or not. तो शायद उसके वजह से, लेकिन plain reading यदि we have to go by the plain reading of the provision, that is the golden rule of interpretation. तो मेरा तो व्यू ये होता है कि आपको जिस दिन नोटिस इश्यू हो रही है, जो प्लेन रीडिंग से मेरा ये इन्फ्रेंस निकलता है. आप अच्छा, ये यदि हम ये व्यू लेते हैं कि ऑन द डेट व्हेन द नोटिस इज इश्यूड, then we get 3 years as time barred without any restriction. 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16. हमारे स्पीकर ने I think has taken the same line. And next 3 years, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, barred up to 50 lakhs. तो आपका क्या व्यू है सर?
Yeah. Good evening to everybody. Chairman, sir, moderator, my fellow panelists, and ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be a part of this conversation and hope that we make a sense out of something which otherwise is very, very complex. Addressing the question which you have asked is, as far as the relevance of the notice which has been issued, the issue, I would believe that it is settled by all High Court decisions whose validity is confirmed by the Supreme Court decision. Supreme Court accepted that all decisions which have been delivered by the High Courts, holding that these notices which have been issued under Section 148 during the period of 1/4/2021 to 30th June 2021 are not valid. These notices are not valid, but Supreme Court exercised its power under Article 142 of the Constitution of India to hold that because this could be out of the bona fide mistakes of the assessing officer of interpretation or the understanding of law, therefore such notices, though invalid in law, could be deemed to be valid by treating such notice as 148A notice. Now, as far as this part is concerned, I believe no dispute at all in interpretation is possible, because on
Pradeep sir, you got muted, sir.
Yeah, now am I audible?
Yes, you are now.
Was I not audible at all, or
For the last 20 seconds.
Last 20 seconds only.
Yes.
So therefore, to summarize is that all such notices which have been issued during the period which is under reference, those notices are now deemed to be notices under 148A. If this part is appreciated by all of us, there is no dispute anymore possible about interpretation or applying any other law. Whatever High Courts have said through a detailed process of interpretation and understanding, that has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Now, as regards the proviso to Section 149, now this is going to be a huge, huge debate. The board has tried to put words in the mouth of Supreme Court by saying that the Supreme Court has approved several of High Court decisions by holding which held that it was possible to apply the new law to the old assessment years. Now, if one would carefully and even cursorily look through the decision of the Supreme Court and also of the High Courts, nowhere even a whisper has been made about applying the new law to the old assessment years. So therefore they have in para 6.2 of the famous circular, which is now an infamous circular. In 6.2, they have introduced a theory of traveling back in time. We all have read H.G. Wells's book, Time Machine, wherein you are permitted to go forward and go backward. Now, to read Supreme Court decision to mean that you are permitted to travel back in time is, according to me, is nothing but perversity and distortion of the decision of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has nowhere stated so. Now, if that view is taken, I would take you to the circular and the explanatory memorandum, which was issued by the board itself in 2021 to explain the impact of proviso to section 149. In that, the board has very categorically, with an example, explained that something which was not possible to have happened, during the old regiment of law, then that would not be permissible to be done under the new regiment. So therefore, to extend the time or curtail time from 4 years to 3 years or extend it from 6 years to 10 years is something Supreme Court has not stated. And therefore, in my personal view and a considered view, this is a distortion of the Supreme Court decision. So the applying the proviso as is available, I would read it this way, that
बाकी जो ऑडियंस है उनको क्या म्यूट कर सकते हैं क्या अंशुल जी?
हाँ,
Mute
there is
किया
a
है।
I would request the participants to
So you can please mute them.
only once they raise their hand that we have a good knowledge session from our speakers and panelists. Humble request, please. Sir, sorry for the convenience. You may please.
Not at
go ahead,
all.
sir.
In fact, for the benefit of the, all participants, and there are good number of participants, I congratulate the organizers for generating on this evening working day, to make so many people interested in a subject. As Dharan rightly said, a lot of discussion has taken place on that. And Dharan has wonderfully explained most of the aspects. See, permit me to read the relevant part, that is the third bullet of para 6.1. This is what is the basis of what Mr. Agarwal has raised, or that is what I have understood. The board says, Honorable Supreme Court has upheld the views of High Courts that the benefit of new law shall be made available even in respect of proceedings relating to past assessment years. Now, on a deeper reading of this decision, I nowhere get this observation. There is no confirmation of this. Neither the High Courts have made any sound bites in respect of this. Carrying it further, decision of the Honorable Supreme Court, I quote, read with the time extension provided by TOLA, that is the Taxation Ordinance and Amendment Law, will allow extended reassessment notices to travel back in time to their original date when such notices were to be issued, and then new section 149 of the Act is to be applied at that point. Now, this kind of an understanding, if the board has derived, there is no basis for arriving at this understanding. There is no basis whatsoever, and trust me that all those cases which are being reopened, whose rationale is being satisfied by applying the understanding of the board in relation, particularly in relation to AY 1314 and 1415, in my very humble but considered view, it would not be something which will be upheld by the court. This is the sum and substance as far as application of first proviso to section 149 is concerned. To put it in simple word is, please appreciate that AY 1314 and 1415 cannot be legitimized, and the notice in relation to those years would not be, or any proceedings in relation to those years would not be sustained. As far as AY 1516 is concerned, if the notice is up to 31st March 2021, then there is a possibility. But if the notice is dated 1st April 2021, even that will be thrown outside the window of 6 years, which was earlier possible. As far as 16, 17 and onwards are concerned, if they are within 3 years or 10 years, the new law would be applicable. This is what is my considered view.
SS गुप्ता जी हैं क्या?
Yes.
गुप्ता जी
बोलिए.
मेरा प्रिसाइज और मैं थोड़ा स्पेसिफिक होता हूँ इस क्वेश्चन को लेके, क्योंकि ये वाइटल है. मोस्ट ऑफ अस आर बैंकिंग ऑन द इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ दिस, और हम ये मान रहे हैं कि 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16 तो क्वैश हो ही जाएगा. तो लेकिन ये जो है 100% फुल प्रूफ नहीं है, क्योंकि कुछ स्पीकर्स का ये मत है कि एज ऑन 1 अप्रैल 2021, यदि उस दिन हम देखते हैं टाइम बारिंग, तो आपका इवन 13, 14 भी टाइम बार नहीं होता मेरे हिसाब से. तो यदि वो दो स्कूल ऑफ थॉट है. एक जो जजमेंट्स के हिसाब से ये आता है कि जिस दिन नया लॉ इनेक्ट हुआ, नया लॉ कमेंस हुआ, उस दिन हम एग्जामिन करेंगे. तो उस दिन एग्जामिन करते हैं तो 13, 14 भी वैलिड है सर, और 14, 15 खाली हम निकल पाते हैं, और 15, 16 भी वैलिड है. और हम जिस दिन इश्यू जब हो गया, अभी तक तो 148 आई नहीं है. यदि हम सेकंड स्कूल ऑफ थॉट पर जाते हैं कि नोटिस मान लीजिए कि आपका 1 जुलाई को इश्यू होता है, तो 1 जुलाई को होता है, उस दिन हमको एग्जामिन करना, तो 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16 तीनों ही जाता है. लेकिन ऑन द डेट ऑफ कमेंसमेंट एग्जामिन करते हैं तो खाली 14, 15 जो है वो जाता है, बाकी दोनों बच जाते हैं. तो वेयर वी स्टैंड, काइंडली सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम. काइंडली अनम्यूट, यू आर नॉट ऑडिबल.
Am I audible now?
Absolutely. फिर इनऑडिबल हो गए सर, उसको पकड़ के रखिए.
I convey my heartfelt thanks to Views Exchange for having invited me and to share my understanding and thoughts on this latest topic of 148 and 148A with reference to the Supreme Court decision and the problem or controversy which has been created by this CBDT circular dated 11th of May. Now coming to the issue and question thrown by Subhash ji, that is assessment year 13-14. Sir, let us forget everything. Honorable Supreme Court has at number of places stated that the benefits, the provisions of 149 will continue to be available to the SSE, and all the defenses as available to the department will continue to be there as per the law. Even Article 142 invocation cannot be done in a manner to subvert the law or to change the law as it is there. That is my understanding about Article 142. So now, to find out the reply of the question or the issue thrown by Subhash ji is to simply read the provisions, first proviso to section 149(1), which says that if a notice under section 148 could not have been issued as per the provisions which were existing prior to the enactment of Finance Act 21, that is, if the notice was time barred as on 1/4/21 as per the old law, then it could not have been issued. So 13-14 as per the old law gets time barred because of the 6 years time limit. Earlier the maximum time period was 6 years only. So 13-14 and 14-15 according to me are time barred.
Interrupting for a moment, sir.
Please.
13-14, sir, Tula is also an enactment of Parliament.
Should I?
Tula, let me elaborate. Tula extends it to 31st March 2021. And the delegated legislation in the form of notification, they further extends it to 30th of June 2021.
Right.
So if we consider Tola to be a valid piece of legislation, then up to 31st June 2021, the time gets extended. So 1314 is also a valid notice.
Sir, now coming to the issue of the significance or validity or legality of TOLA, in respect of this amended provisions and in respect of this Supreme Court decision rendered on 4th of May. Sir, what does the Honorable Supreme Court has said?
Sir, it is not talking about TOLA at all.
No, it is, sir. Let me submit and then we'll say. What does it say? It says that the 148 notices issued during that period will be deemed to have been issued under 148 capital A. Now, once we go to the principles of deeming provisions, then deeming provisions have to be applied only for the purpose, only for the limited scope of deeming provision is for the purpose for which it is enacted. Therefore, the moment it is under 148A, TOLA had the power to give extension to 148 notices. TOLA does not have the power to give extension to 140. It has nothing to do with 148A according to me. Therefore, with great respect, in view of the notices being treated under 148A, TOLA will not have any application at all according to me. That is my understanding of the provisions, sir.
But then why you are saying then you have to examine on 1st April 2021? Why not on the date of issue of notice? That follows from the plain reading of the first provision. And it has to be examined on the date when the notice is issued.
Sir, I'll just read the first proviso.
That will solve all the problems. If you agree on that, it solves all the problem. Then all the 3 years get time barred.
Yeah, it does. It does, sir. Provided that no notice under section 148 shall be issued at any time in a case for the relevant assessment year, beginning on or before 1st April 21. If a notice under section 148 could not have been issued at that time on account of being beyond the time limit specified under 149(1)(b. So at that time is at
that time refers to at any time. No notice under 148 shall be issued at any time.
At no notice at any time being issued being beyond the time limit specified under 148(1)(b, as they stood immediately before the commencement of Finance Act 21.
So that is commencement of Finance Act 2021 is the reference point. You have to see which law will apply. For that referencing, this Finance Act 2021 is used, but not for the purpose of examining the date with reference to which you have to see the time barring. So if the learned speaker is there,
sir,
with us, I would like to take the view of the learned speaker also.
We can have the views of other speakers also to come to a consensus. But my humble submission would still be that if it could not have been issued on 1st of April, if it gets time barred on 1st of April 21, according to me, that cannot get the benefit of this.
So according to you, 1516 can be validly issued.
1516 can be validly issued. It as on 1421. But as now today, if we talk on today's environment, this thing, then 1516 also gets time barred.
Sir, you cannot eat the cake and have it too. For 13, 14, 14, 15, you say reference point is 1st April 2021. For 15, 16, you want to say the current date will be the reference. Well, that cannot be done, sir, in my view. If a speaker is there,
for 15, 16, it will be that if it is more than 50 lakhs, तब उसके अंदर आ सकता है 3 to 10 years वाले.
I have a different.
I agree with you.
I have a different view. पारस जी कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे तो he is free to speak. और धरन गांधी साहब यदि हैं तो उनका, क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा तीनों टाइम बार्ड है. So that accords with my view also. So I would like to take seal of approval from the speaker if he is there. Or Paras ji, meanwhile, if he has a view, he can give it. नारायण जी, गांधी साहब हैं क्या?
जी सर है
I would request Paras sir to please unmute, sir.
गांधी साहब बोले तो थे रहेंगे, but I can't see him.
Gandhi sir is also here.
धरन जी हैं सर.
We would request Mr. Dharan Gandhi ji to please unmute and come on video if possible.
Subhashji, if others are not there, let us have the view of Mr. Kapasi on this.
Mr. Kapasi has given his view already.
Mr. Dharan is on video now, and Mr. Paras Kochar has also unmuted himself. So we would request both the learned speakers to please express their views.
Whoever can come first.
Subhashji, as my view is concerned, it is very clear, and most of the speakers are of the same view, that as regard 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, it is not time bar. Yes. But since the department has given its instruction, and we should not also take it lightly, as regard the legal concept is concerned, we all say that department's instruction will not, as per department instruction, the reopening, which the department says will not be possible. But one thing is there, why the Supreme Court did not mention clearly about the Tola? And the Supreme Court was well aware that as regards section 149.
Sir, let us not digress from the issue, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट आप एक समझने की बात है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट को यदि वो डील करना था, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ये कहता ही नहीं कि भाई आपको डिफेंसेस, आप यू कैन टेक डिफेंसेस अंडर सेक्शन 149 एंड अदर प्रोविजन 151 बिफोर द EO. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने सीधा उनका टारगेट यही था कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट वाज कंसर्न्ड that 90,000 cases are there, how to save the revenue. क्योंकि remedy, according to Supreme Court, revenue would have been remedyless. और वो कोई भी हाई कोर्ट ने भी लिमिटेशन के पॉइंट पर कोई व्यू नहीं लिया है. Let me correct Mr. Kapasi. All the high courts have taken the view about procedure to be followed. They are saying that 148A has kicked in. Once you are issuing notice after 31st March 2021, the new procedure has kicked in and you have not followed 148A procedure. Therefore, all the notices are bad in law. कहीं पर भी लिमिटेशन और प्रोविजो, फर्स्ट प्रोविजो, सेकंड प्रोविजो, ये सब की बात सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं कर रहा है. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट, वी कैन नॉट फॉल बैक ऑन द डिसीजन ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट. हमको अब अपने पांव पर खड़े रहकर अपने तरफ से एक इंटरप्रिटेशन करना है. और ये एक वाइटल 3 साल मैक्सिमम लाइबिलिटी आएगी ये फर्स्ट 3 इयर्स में. तो ये चीज हमको ये समझना है कि ये अल्टीमेटली ठीक है, अवर एसएससीज आर प्रिपेयर्ड टू फाइट आउट अ लीगल बैटल. तो डिपार्टमेंट तो मानने वाला नहीं है. वी नो द एडमेंट एटीट्यूड ऑफ आवर ऑफिसर्स. दे वांट टू अडॉप्ट अ वेरी कंजर्वेटिव लाइन. बोले लेट द कोर्ट डिसाइड. सो वी विल फाइट आउट इन द कोर्ट. जस्ट एक्सपर्ट पैनल से ये व्यू लेना था कि क्या हम कितने पानी में हैं, अल्टीमेटली क्या होगा. गांधी साहब यदि हैं तो आई वुड लाइक टू टेक हिज व्यू, देन आई विल मूव फॉरवर्ड टू द अनदर क्वेश्चन. आपका सर कंप्लीट, मैंने बीच में रोका, कुछ और कहना चाहते हैं?
No, the point here is
it's okay. I also agree with the same view.
See, I have, to supplement something. So give me a minute or so.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Subhashji, the important point, which we appreciated, it is also not the way I read the Supreme Court decision. Supreme Court, while confirming the several decisions delivered by more than 6 high courts, have approved the decisions of the High Court, which have, after examining TOLA in detail, have stated that the new law has come in force from 1st April 2021, and for some reason the legislature has not saved the application of the old law. And because the application of the old law is not saved, in that way of the matter, any notice is issued under 148 on or after 1st of April are invalid in law. Having said that, in order to in order to save the bona fide mistakes, the Supreme Court thereafter said that yes, these all notices would be considered to be deemed notice, as Mr. Gupta rightly pointed out. Now, the fiction which has been introduced by virtue of Article 148, 142 is limited to treating one notice as a notice under the new section. That's all. Beyond that, there is nowhere a whisper has been made to extend the time limit otherwise provided under proviso to section 148. There is no other way one could read this. It is only the Central Board of Direct Taxes which has read it in an absolutely different manner by extending something which is not at all even whispered in the Supreme Court decision. All panelists, according to me, I've been listening to them very carefully, very respected panelists, and including Dharan also I was listening to. In the morning only when we met, we discussed. We met in the tribunal today in Mumbai. So at that time also we discussed the implication of proviso to section 149. All of us, with respect, Mr. Subhash Agarwal, we are of a view that 13-14, 14-15 and 15-16 are not possible to be reopened, and they are saved, they have the benefit, which is a defense, which Supreme Court has saved by stating that the defense available to assessee will be available even in interpretation of the new law.
Sir, I am also agreeing with the same view.
Thank you so much.
Up
So
to
there is no
15-16,
disagreement.
but 15-16 is also not valid in law. But the
Yes,
reasoning,
it is.
I am not agreeable with the reasoning you are giving.
No, very well. But what I would suggest is that
because if your reasoning is accepted, then 13-14 also, in my opinion, becomes valid, and 15-16 will not become time barred at all. If you take reference point as 1st of April 2021. Let us, we have to move forward, sir. Difference of opinion, we all learned people have difference of opinion.
So we
cannot,
do agree to
let
that.
us agree to disagree.
But
so
I have
Mr. Gandhi, if he's there, I would like to have his view, because he has also taken a view that all first 3 years are barred by limitation.
But I don't see there is any disagreement anywhere. Neither the reasons are different. It simply is you perhaps are putting some words in mouth of me. You know, there is nothing which I have said that, okay, you know, that MI 13-14.
My question was that on the date of issue of notice under 148, you will examine the time barring provision, or on the date of 1st April 2021. I'm not getting a straightforward reply for that.
So straightforward reply, and we will close this discussion, you know, see, because it's almost 6 o'clock. So it's almost 6 o'clock and we perhaps would have to end by 7 o'clock. The point which one is trying to say is that you do not have to apply the law as on 1/4/2021 or otherwise. What has been simply provided is that 148 notice would be considered as 148A notice. And the court has thereafter said that you please provide the material within the time which is prescribed, that is 30 days of 4th May 2022. And thereafter, you know, see, the opportunity should be given to the assessee to furnish detail within 2 weeks. And thereafter, 1 month from the end of that month, an order should be passed. This is all. This is the short and sweet of it. There is nothing in the Supreme Court decision or in High Court decision where under what board has stated in the 3rd bullet of para 6.1 is emerging. That is, this is the last thing.
Thank you. Mr. Gandhi, if he's here, kindly.
He's not there. He's not there, Mr. Agarwal. Please leave this. You know, Gandhi has kept the, you know, see, video open, I mean, audio open, but he must be engaged in.
Sir, I'm here, sir. I'm here. Tell me.
Yeah, Dharan, why don't you share your clear views on this, you know, so that we...
Have you heard the question, Mr.
No,
Gandhi?
please repeat,
My question was simple, that look, this, we are of the opinion that 13-14, 14-15, 15-16 is barred by the law of limitation.
Yes.
Mr. S.S. Gupta is having a different view on that.
Okay.
15-16, he says, is not barred by limitation.
Now,
thing is that we have to read first proviso to come to a conclusion whether a particular notice is barred by limitation or not. We have to read first proviso to section 149(1).
Yes.
Now, there are two school of thoughts in interpreting first proviso 249, 149.1. One school of thought says that you have to exempt the reference date will be the commencement of the Finance Act 2021. That is
Yes.
on the first day of April 2021. You have to see whether it was barred by limitation or not.
Okay.
And second school of thought believes that on the date of issue of notice, which has still not been issued,
Yes.
148 notice will be issued sometime on or after 1st July 2021. Assuming it is issued on 1st July 2021, and if that is the reference point, then there is no controversy. First 3 years gets barred by limitation.
Okay.
But if we take reference point as 1st of April 2021, then even 13.14 is not getting time barred, because 13.14 TOLA is extending it. TOLA is extending it from 31st March 2020 to 31st March 2021. And by way of delegated legislation, it has further been extended to 30th of June 2020. So in that case, even 13.14 is valid initiation of reopening, and 15.16 is out of question, because it gets time barred on 31st March 2022. We need desire your valued opinion.
Okay. So my humble submission, I'll start in a reverse manner, Subhash bhai. First point is TOLA and the notification issued under TOLA. The first notification number 20 of 2021 was 31st of March. As per the explanation, notice has to be issued under the old law. Since the notification deals with extension under the old law, and the old law has come to an end on 31st of March, therefore notification and the explanation also dies a natural death with the death of the law. The second notification number 38 of 2021, which extends the date from 30th of April to 30th of June, it extends the date under the old law at the point of time when the old law was not in the statute book. And therefore, even notification number 38 of 2021 is a legislative misfiring. This deals with the notification. Secondly, explanation which says you can reopen under the old law has been struck down by Delhi High Court, Bombay High Court, Madras High Court, Rajasthan High Court, Calcutta High Court. Once it has been struck down, it does not lie in the mouth of the department to say time limit to issue notice has been extended under the old law. The second point. Third point, coming to the proviso. No notice under section 148 shall be issued at any time. The word used is at any time. In a case for the relevant assessment year beginning on or before first day of April 2021. Now the reference to the word first day of April 2021 in the proviso is with respect to the assessment year. Assessment year beginning on or before 1st April 2021. If a notice under section 148 could not have been issued at that time, the crucial word is that. That refers to at any time in first sentence. It does not refer to 1st April 2021 because 1st April 2021 has been used in connection with the assessment year. The reading of the first proviso to section 149(1)(b). Therefore, in my submission, if an assessment cannot be reopened on 1st of April 2022 under the old law, then it cannot be reopened on 1st of April 2022 under the new law. The use of the word at any time and at that time, according to me, signifies that it has got no relevance with the 1st of April 2021 date. It has got relevance with the date on which notice is sought to be issued.
So and viewing from that perspective, 1516 also gets time bar.
And I had a discussion with the department also, and if you also look at the manner in which the department has proceeded, AY 1516, all notices have been issued from 31st March 2022. Department also believes AY 1516 becomes time barred after 31st March 2022. The logic behind this, according to me, is that they say AY 2021 and prior assessment years we still give you 6 years time limit, even under the new law, though the time limit has been extended to 10 years. Since under the old law it was 6 years, we continue with 6 years, but as per the new jurisdictional requirements, though the time limit specified in the new law is 10 years, however, from AY 2021 and onwards, it can be issued up to 10 years. So my personal view is it has to be restricted to 6 years in respect of all assessment years up to AY 2020. Sorry, I have not heard the opinion of the other speakers. I think Pradeep sir is with me on this.
No, sir, a lot of time we have devoted on this particular question.
Yes.
So we have to move ahead.
Okay.
Irrespective
Thank you.
of the difference of opinion, we'll have to move ahead.
No difference of opinion on this. We surely have a difference of opinion. You keep on saying that there is a difference of opinion. All panelists, including the speakers, have agreed.
Sir,
that
Mr.
13,
Gupta
14,
clearly
14,
said
15
we.
is not possible.
Sir, you are
Please allow
not
me to
clearly
complete.
saying.
Please allow me to complete, Mr. Moderator. Please allow a panelist to complete and share his views. Please do not impose the views. The point is there is no difference of opinion. So because 246 people are participating and they should get a clear view that all panelists agree that 13, 14 and 14, 15 are outside the scope of reopening. And you also share the same view. So where is the question now?
Sir, okay. Why you are getting hurt if I say
no, nobody is getting hurt. What I am saying
difference of view is very much possible in income tax, sir.
We are concerned with
even
time.
Supreme Court at different points of time take different view on the same.
चलिए ना आगे चलिए please.
सर हमारा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है थर्ड प्रोविजो को लेके जो कि बहुत कम डेलिबरेट हुआ है.
हाँ जी.
अब थर्ड प्रोविजो जो है एक व्यू आया डॉक्टर राकेश गुप्ता ने इसको इंटरप्रेट किया है और वो व्यू यदि एक्सेप्ट होता है तो इट थ्रोज कोल्ड वाटर ऑन व्हाटएवर वी आर डिबेटिंग. जो 3 साल है वो तीनों वैलिड हो जाएगा. उनका ये व्यू है. जो थर्ड प्रोविजो है उसमें ये बोल रहा है स्टैट्यूट कि इफ देयर इज एनी स्टे और इंजंक्शन बाय द हाई कोर्ट बाय एनी कोर्ट then that period has to be excluded, or even any time is allowed under 148 capital A by the assessing officer to the assessees for responding, that period also has to be excluded. Dr. Gupta recently in this very platform, he has given a view that जो पुरानी नोटिस 148 की जो नोटिस पहले इशू हुई थी बिटवीन 1/4/2021 टू 30 जून 2021, उस पीरियड में जो नोटिस इशू हुई थी वो सुप्रीम अकॉर्डिंग टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट दैट बिकम्स नोटिस अंडर सेक्शन 148 कैपिटल ए. और अब नई इशू जो होगी 148 में वो एक्चुअली 148 की नोटिस है. तो बोले ये जो 148 ए का से लेके 148 तक का जो पीरियड है that has to be excluded, क्योंकि he did not say in so many words, लेकिन inference यही निकलता है he is construing this period as a stay by the court, क्योंकि Supreme Court ने by way of some artificial method it has deemed notice under section 148 to 148 capital A. तो वो जो 1 साल का पीरियड जो आ जा रहा है उसको हम यदि एक्सक्लूड करने लगे तो maybe 13, 14 is valid, is not valid, but 14, 15, 15, 16 तो valid हो जाएगा. तो पैनलिस्ट का इसमें मैं व्यू चाहूंगा कि ये क्या पूरा पीरियड एक्सक्लूड हो सकता है by any stretch of imagination, including Mr. Dharan Gandhi if he is there with us. Anyone can respond. Any first come first serve. Any can panelist may volunteer to respond.
Very well. See, it's where angels fear to tread, the fools rush in. So therefore, as you said that whoever would like to respond, I would rush in. Okay, though it might be a foolhardy thing to do so. There is a case in what Dr. Gupta has said about the application of proviso. In those cases wherein a stay had been given by the High Court, about the application, then there is a possibility of holding that because of the stay, the time got extended. But most of the cases out of 90,000 cases are the cases in which not necessarily the stay was given. So I would try to make this in two parts. Under compartment 1, I would hold all those cases in respect of which no stay was given. The application of the third proviso would not arise at all.
Sir, let me interfere for a moment. There is no dispute. If specifically courts have stayed the proceeding, that period will be, that comes out from the plain language.
Yes.
And mostly 2-3 months stay were given. At least Calcutta High Court,
Exactly.
I have dealt with hundreds of notices, so I have first-hand experience. Not more than 2-3 months stay was given initially, because Calcutta High Court was waiting for Delhi High Court to come. So during that period, stay was given. Then final decisions were taken as soon as Delhi High Court came. So that period will be excluded. That is not doing any harm to us. If you reduce 3 months, then even 15-16 will also be invalid, because you see, they will be issuing notice in July only. So if you go backward, 15-16 gets time barred on 31st March 2022. So 3 months, March, April, May, June. So if 3 months stay was there, still it will be barred by limitation. So my question was that, can it be construed? Because Supreme Court says you go back, that 148, you treat it as 148. By way of any deeming fiction, or by reading something into Supreme Court decision, can we say that because now Supreme Court is turning the apple cart, because from childhood days when we started reading income tax, first lesson we learned was there is no equity in income. Whenever we say tribunal में जाके कि my lord ये गरीब है, बोला ये भूल जाइए. Don't utter such words before us, because there is no equity in income tax. लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अब कह दिया है कि भाई the bona fide error can be committed by the department. तो bona fide error है तो अब long rope has been given to the department. सुप्रीम कोर्ट कल ये भी बोल सकता है कि भाई ये जो पीरियड हमने तो आर्टिफिशियली, ये इसका बेनिफिट आप क्यों ले रहे हैं? 148A हम उसको ट्रीट कर रहे हैं, जबकि वो 148 था, उसको हम 148 ट्रीट कर रहे हैं. तो 15-16 का तो बेनिफिट आपको मिलेगा नहीं, क्योंकि ये तो आप थोड़ी, आपको हमने गिफ्ट दिया है. 15-16 बिकॉज 31 मार्च 22 में टाइम बार्ड हो रहा है, तो वो बेनिफिट तो हमको सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट के वजह से मिल रही है. आई एम कमिंग टू वन ऑफ द इम्पोर्टेंट इश्यू, जहां पर मिस्टर गांधी, आवर स्पीकर, हैज आल्सो टेकन अ व्यू that the Supreme Court decision will apply only to those cases who have filed writ. And पारस जी ने भी अभी पोस्ट किया था. तो सर वो जब आप ये बात बोलेंगे तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने तो गिफ्ट दिया है जिसने रिट, तब तो बेनिफिशियरी विल बी द पर्सन हु हैज फाइल्ड रिट.
Yes.
Because 15-16 otherwise was not getting time. जिसने रिट नहीं फाइल करी है तो उसमें तो बोलेगा भाई ये तो आपका जून महीने में ही नोटिस इश्यू हो गई थी, तब तो आपको ये टाइम बार्ड कहा, किस में नोटिस इश्यू हो गई थी. देन 15-16 वाज नॉट टाइम बार्ड. इसी तरह से 18-19 भी टाइम बार्ड नहीं था, वो भी 31 मार्च 2022 में आके टाइम बार्ड हो रहा है 3 ईयर पीरियड के पर्पस के लिए. तो इस पर हम आपका व्यू चाहते हैं कि क्या ऐसा भी सिचुएशन आ सकता है कि कोर्ट ये बोले कि ये पीरियड को आप एक्सक्लूड करिए.
Yeah, I have begun with my views, but let Mr. Gupta and Mr. Kochar also share their views, and then we can close with your views. Otherwise, आपने जो कहा ना, every word of it was relevant, and therefore, there is a possibility as far as non-writ cases, a different view could be taken, provided the stay had extended, outside the period of issue of notice. So let us hear them out.
Subhashi, yes, it is my view that what has been mentioned in this proviso, that the proceeding under section 148A is stayed by an order. And as regards the Supreme Court order is concerned that they are deeming this 148 as 148A, so there is no staying of proceeding. So this provision should not apply.
I fully agree with this viewpoint. और मेरा भी यही व्यू होता है, लेकिन एक डॉक्टर राकेश गुप्ता
yes.
जो माने उनकी डिग्री
Agreed,
इतनी
agreed.
ज्यादा है कि मतलब हम लोग पढ़ नहीं पाते हैं। वो सीए भी है, एडवोकेट भी है, और उसके बाद एवरी पॉसिबल डिग्री ऑन अर्थ ही इज हैविंग, एमबीए भी है, और सब इतना लर्नेड आदमी। और किसी ने मेरे को कहा कि डॉक्टर सिंघानिया ने अपनी किताब में रेडी रिकोनर में भी उन्होंने ये
Yes,
व्यू
yes.
लिया है कि
I've seen.
148 ए से लेके 148 का जो डिस्टेंस है दैट हैज टू बी एक्सक्लूडेड। तो दो
Yes.
डॉक्टरेट वाले लोग जब ये व्यू लेते हैं, तो हम लोग तो सर बहुत साधारण एलएलबी किए हुए व्यक्ति हैं, तो हम कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं। तो सर ये जो है, मेरा भी ये व्यू है कि भाई प्लेन लैंग्वेज, हमने तो बचपन से इनकम टैक्स में लॉ स्कूल में यही सीखा है कि द गोल्डन रूल ऑफ इंटरप्रिटेशन इज द लैंग्वेज ऑफ द स्टैट्यूट, यू कैन नॉट ईड और ऐड और डिलीट। लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट तो कोर्ट्स तो कुछ भी, कोर्ट्स कैन रीड डाउन। तो हम कितने रिस्क में है, कितने पानी में है? गुप्ता जी एंड मिस्टर गांधी, इफ यू हैव अ व्यू ऑन दिस। Gupta ji, you are not audible, sir.
Please unmute, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The time or extended time allowed to the SSE as per show cause notice issued under 148A small b. Now 148 small b this is being treated as per the Supreme Court's order now that these notices which will be issued will be notices. इसके बाद जो time allowed होगा that will definitely will add to the period of limitation.
सर इसमें कोई डिस्प्यूट नहीं है सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन भी इस पर नहीं था। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था, नेक्स्ट
is or the period during which the proceeding under 148A is stayed by an order of the court. So 148A का तो कोई proceeding stay नहीं हो रहा है. What is deemed by the Supreme Court order is that 148 notices will be deemed as 148A. So 148A को तो कहीं stay नहीं किया उन्होंने.
Yes.
बट देन डॉक्टर गुप्ता डिड नॉट एलाबोरेट, लेकिन उन्होंने जो कहा उससे यही इन्फरेंस निकलता है कि वो एज ए डीमिंग फिक्शन इट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज स्टे, बिकॉज वन वो तो आप एक एडवांटेज थोड़ी ले सकते हैं टेक्निकल।
Sir, what has been deemed by Honorable Supreme Court as that the notices issued under 148 will be deemed as 148A. Now 148A have nowhere been stayed either by the Supreme Court order
Yes.
or
Sir, I got
in
your
the
point.
this thing.
I got your point. Mr. Gandhi,
Not there. Okay, proceed.
गुप्ता जी, आपसे मेरा ये क्वेरी है।
बोलिए।
ये अब अभी हमने इसी क्वेरी में उसको थोड़ा सा डील किया।
Mr. Gandhi is back.
हाँ,
Yes.
Mr. Gandhi, I not on this query. I'm seeking your view क्योंकि I understand कि most of the Dr. Gupta is a class apart, उनका अपना अलग view है, लेकिन most of us will agree कि we have to go by the language. शायद Mr. Gandhi will also take that view. So further we are not investing any time in this. Mr. Gandhi, आपने ये कहा कि ये जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिसीजन है, क्योंकि purportedly we are thinking that this decision is against us, क्योंकि हमको जो fruits of our labor has been nullified. तो हम ये spur of the moment में हम ये बोल रहे हैं कि भाई ठीक है, ये जो बेनिफिट बाकी लोगों, ये जो डिमेरिट है, जो रिट फाइल नहीं किया ही सेव्ड। लेकिन सर वो तो ज्यादा डिसएडवांटेज पोजीशन में आ गया, क्योंकि ये व्यू यदि डिपार्टमेंट लेने लगा कि भाई जिसने रिट नहीं किया उसमें ये अप्लाई नहीं होगा, ये जो डीमिंग ऑफ 148A विल नॉट अप्लाई, तो 15-16 तो बचेगा ही नहीं सर। 15-16 विल बी वैलिड यदि पुराने लॉ के हिसाब से हम चलते हैं, विदाउट assuming that there is no Supreme Court judgment.
But department is applied, Shivaji, sorry मैं disturb कर रहा हूँ, department is applied Supreme Court judgment in all the notices, whether it has been filed.
क्योंकि वो उनके लिए फायदेमंद है सर।
They are quoting Supreme Court judgment.
और सर अल्टीमेटली आप भी ये प्ली नहीं ले पाओगे अपीलेट अथॉरिटी में कि सर सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट हम पर नहीं अप्लाई करता है। क्योंकि तब तो आपका 15-16 यदि है तो वो वैलिड हो गया, 18-19 है लेस देन 3 ईयर, वो भी वैलिड हो गया, तो आप भी चुप मार के बैठोगे, तो अल्टीमेटली जो अपने सोच रहे हैं वो नहीं हो रहा है.
So there are two views. Firstly, I'll speak about AY 13-14 and 14-15. Whether or not this notices, whether or not a Supreme Court judgment apply, the notices have become time barred. The first issue is that. So that becomes an academic discussion. Coming to AY 16-17 and 17-18.
Sir, 15-16 also.
No, I'm coming to that. Coming to AY 16-17 and 17-18, since they still have time to reopen up to 31st March 23 and 24 respectively, again that discussion becomes academic, because even if we today take this argument that you have reopened under the old law, he will shut down the notice and he'll issue a fresh notice. So now we are left with AY 15-16. The issue is that the Supreme Court judgment applies to a case where a writ petition has not been filed challenging the notice, vis-a-vis case where writ petition has been filed. So as I said in my presentation, the case before the Supreme Court was a case where notice was directly challenged. Ashish Agarwal and other cases were cases where the notice under section 148 was directly challenged. In the order, I could find 8 instances where Supreme Court is only referring to the cases where writ has been filed, either allowed by the high courts, and department is planning to file SLP, or cases where matter is pending before the high court, where the high court will allow the writ and the department would have to file an SLP. Logically speaking, they want to not like the department to file 9,000 SLPs. So also the point that Article 142 says that the judgment will apply only to the facts of the case in which complete justice is required. And in respect of the other cases, if they want to apply pan-India basis, there has to be a law or an ordinance passed by the president. Without that, the judgment cannot apply to even cases where SLP has not been filed. And high courts have dismissed the writ petition. चलो ठीक है, वो तो अभी हमारे कंट्रोल के बाहर है, because Supreme Court has filed this and somebody has to go to Supreme Court and say that this does not apply because Article 142 cannot be invoked in my case without my case being taken up to Supreme Court unless there is an act or an ordinance by the president. Keeping this case aside, there is an argument of inequality that the writ petitions have been treated differently vis-a-vis the cases in which notice under section 148 has already been issued. But in my humble opinion, even in case of AY 15-16, though 148A-B notice was issued timely, in cases whether writ petition has been filed or where writ petition has not been filed, they are going to issue 148 notice as on today. And as on today, 148 notice has become time barred because of 149(1) proviso. हमारे पास से वो लोग ऑब्जेक्शन मांग के they will pass an order under 148A-D and they will issue notice under section 148 after disposing of objection, which will happen in June or July 2022. At such point of time has elapsed.
Yes.
To issue 148 notice. So even AY 15-16 according to me has become time barred.
मेरा ये कहना था सर कि जो रिट फाइल नहीं किया है,
हाँ,
he is in a disadvantageous
No, sir. In fact, now I come to that. At the most, department can argue under third proviso, the time period granted to the SSC or the stay granted to the SSC has to be reduced.
नहीं सर, जिसने रिट नहीं फाइल किया है, उसकी नोटिस इशू हुई थी से इन अप्रैल 2021 में, तो अप्रैल 2021 में यदि इशू हुई है तो आपका जो असेसमेंट ईयर 15-16 है वो टाइम बार्ड नहीं था उस समय
टाइम बार्ड नहीं था, लेकिन उस समय उन्होंने 148A का प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं किया है.
ये तो 148A का प्रोसीजर डिपार्टमेंट अब फॉलो कर रहा है.
नहीं, हाउ कैन इट बी पोस्ट इशुएंस ऑफ नोटिस अंडर 148?
ठीक है, 148A का जो प्रोसीजर है वो तो उन्होंने सेट असाइड कर दिया सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने.
करेक्ट.
तो
so they'll follow it
you
now.
cannot fall back on that plea कि आपने 148A का जो that has been given quietus by the Supreme Court.
No, that they will follow now, because Supreme Court says all notices under 148 deemed to be issued under 148A-B So they'll follow it from today.
जिसने रीट फाइल नहीं किया, आप बोल रहे, आप खुद ही बोल रहे हो सर कि जिसने रीट नहीं फाइल किया है वो दे विल नॉट बी गवर्न्ड बाय सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिसीजन.
Correct.
तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ ना कि 148 नोटिस 148A जो है, दैट प्ली goes out of the window, thrown out of the window.
No,
That
no, no,
plea
no,
now
no,
you
no, no.
cannot take.
No. If Supreme Court judgment is not applicable to cases where it has not been filed, then what AO or department has done is they have directly issued 148 notice, admittedly under the old law.
No, sir. That is, they are not doing. They are
one-
also treating as if those cases are also governed by Supreme Court
Yes.
decisions. So therefore, they are issuing only a letter and giving us information.
Subhashi, there are two things. One, we presume Supreme Court ka judgment is not applicable. If we presume that Supreme Court judgment is not applicable to cases where writs have not been filed, then notice under section 148 has been admittedly issued under old law by the department, not followed 148A, and therefore, if you challenge that matter in a CIT appeal or before the tribunal on the ground that 148 notice is bad in law because they have not followed 148A procedures, it has to be struck down. First case scenario.
But in the
Let me complete.
Supreme.
Let me complete. Second scenario, assuming Supreme Court judgment applies to cases where appeal writ has not been filed. And what the Supreme Court has done is treated 148 notice as 148AB notice. 148 notice को 148AB notice treat करने के बाद in between जो भी communication हुआ है, reasons communicate हुआ है, order disposing objection हुआ है, वो सब it has to go. Because now the proceeding will start afresh by treating 148A notice as 148 notice as 148AB notice. Admittedly, 148A show cause notice has been issued within the time limit. Admittedly, उसका कोई, there is no two views. But thereafter, I have to file a reply. They have to pass a 148A order and they have to issue 148 notice. Time limit to issue 148 notice is to be governed by 149 section read with proviso. First proviso says 6 years तक आपको open करना है. If you don't open till 6 years, then you cannot reopen even under the new law. AY 1516 has become time barred on 31st March 22. Supreme Court judgment, even if it applies, they are going to issue notice to me after 31st March 22, after 1st June 22, which is therefore time barred.
But in case Supreme Court decision does not apply, we are on the specific point. In case Supreme Court decision does not apply, उस केस में जो रिट जिन्होंने नहीं फाइल करी है, उसके केस में तो नोटिस इज इशूड डीम्ड टू बी इशूड अंडर 148, जैसे हुआ था वैसे ही माना जाएगा. Just merely because 148A proceeding, because impliedly we can come to a conclusion, and that is the view of the learned ASG. उन्होंने सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया बेकॉन एक आर्टिकल लिखा है, बेकॉन लाइट ऑफ द कंट्री ऐसे करके कुछ उन्होंने एक आर्टिकल लिखा है, टेक्स्ट सूत्रा में जो अपीयर हुआ था. उन्होंने ये कहा है कि अंडर आर्टिकल 142 there has been earlier there were two dimensions about substantive law and complete justice. Now third dimension is that procedural law यदि है तो वो invalidate नहीं करेगा if there is violation, and this is the age-old dictum from the courts. If there is violation of procedural law, that will not be the fatal to the proceedings. So department can very well take the plea कि भाई ठीक है, आपने जो रीट आपने फाइल नहीं किया है, तो merely procedural irregularity तो हुआ है ना कि 148A का प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं हुआ, लेकिन 148 का जो नोटिस इशू हुआ है उस दिन 15-16 was valid. It was not barred by limitation. 18-19 up to 3 years was also a valid issuance of notice.
Sir, Supreme Court in Union of India versus Ashish Agarwal has clearly laid down 148A procedures, issue of show cause and passing of order under 148AD is a condition precedent, is a jurisdictional requirement. Supreme Court in Union of India versus Ashish Agarwal में लिखा है सर ये, it's a condition precedent, it's a jurisdictional requirement. And if one takes a plea that you have directly issued 148 notice, clearly they have violated 148A procedures and therefore it is without jurisdiction. 1, 2, all the high courts, Allahabad, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Rajasthan, Madras, all have held that it had to be issued under new law. And since you have not followed 148A procedures, therefore the notices are bad in law, and that portion of the judgment has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Sir, it's a jurisdictional requirement. It's not only a procedural issue.
I don't find anywhere they have written that it is jurisdictional requirement.
Sir, I'll show it to you. I'll show it to your para number also.
Kindly enlighten us.
I'll show the para number also. 1 second.
No, that is written. That it is a conditional precedent.
148A is necessary requirement or jurisdictional requirement.
The condition, I'll show you.
Para 6.2.
Para 6.2 under the substituted provisions of IT Act. No notice under section 148 can be issued without following the procedure prescribed under section 148A of the Act. Along with the notice under section 148 of the Act, AO is required to serve order passed under 148A of the Act. 148A of the Act is a new provision which is in the nature of a condition precedent. Introduction of section 148A thus can be said to be a game changer with an aim to achieve ultimate object of simplifying tax administration. No notice can be issued without following procedure under section 148 of the Act. Clearly, Supreme Court has written.
It is a condition precedent.
So they correctly no notice can be issued.
Is it equivalent to jurisdiction?
Yes.
Beyond jurisdiction?
Sir, 147, 148, 149, 150, 151, all are jurisdictional sections. We have Bombay High Court judgment, we have other High Court judgment where if the AO does not record reason, if the AO does not give reason in spite of asking, if the AO does not dispose of the objection in spite of making objections, all the cases you have not followed the binding precedent GK and drive shaft, and therefore it is a jurisdictional requirement has to be caused. It's a Bombay High Court judgment.
Okay, sir. Thank you. How much time is there with us?
Subhashji, actually, can we take up some of the questions which are mentioned in the chat box? If you permit, sir.
एक क्वेश्चन लास्ट क्वेश्चन मैं करता हूँ फिर उसके बाद सर ये जीके एंड ड्राइव सेफ्ट का जो प्रोसीजर सुप्रीम कोर्ट अंडर द ओल्ड लॉ जो प्रिस्क्राइब किया था वेदर दैट इज वैलिड स्टिल क्योंकि आपका जो प्रोसीजर सब 148A का प्रोसीजर फॉलो करने के बाद दे विल इश्यू नोटिस अंडर 148 तो हमारा पुराना क्या प्रोसीजर था 148 के बाद हम रिटर्न फाइल करते थे फिर रीजंस मांगते थे फिर उसके बाद हम ऑब्जेक्शन देते थे फिर उसको स्पीकिंग ऑर्डर से यूज्ड टू डिस्पोज ऑफ दैट एंड दिस इज द प्रोसीजर प्रिस्क्राइब्ड बाय जीके एंड ड्राइव सर so whether this procedure will continue to be followed or now it is redundant in view of 148 capital.
Subhashji, see, after this 148A is practically the GK and drive shaft is bodily incorporated under 148A because the moment I issue 148A and give the material and information and my allegations to the SSE, that opportunity is being given to the SSE to furnish its reply and submissions and objections. And only after considering the reply, submissions and objections of the SSE that a final order under 148A clause D is passed. And then only there it is decided whether it is a fit case to issue 148 or not. Therefore, GK and drive shaft is bodily incorporated under 148A.
So in other words, after issue of notice under 148, they can straight away proceed with the further proceeding. They
Yes,
can issue 143 too, because but sir, thing is that regions recorded now there is no requirement of course the regions required recording of regions. So on the basis of information they will collect the further material from us and thereafter under 143 AD they will dispose of our objections. So thereafter nothing is to be done and no procedure is further required to be followed.
Yeah, that is my
Mr. Gandhi, आपका क्या view है? मिस्टर गांधी, आपका कोई व्यू है इसमें? Now let us proceed with the question answer session. So somebody from the organizers may raise question to the panelists.
Yes, sir.
नवीन
Thank
जी
you.
क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं अपने.
Thank you. The first question is from Amrita Kedia ji. SSC received notice under section 148 dated 31 March 31st March 21 under old regime, issued on 1 April 1st April 21. Assessment was completed after making addition. An order passed on 31st March 22 and appeal was filed on 20 April 20th April 22 is pending. Can ITO now issue notice under section 148 AB with particulars of information, which implies that assessment proceeding initiated afresh as per SC order? What happens to appeal lying pending? I think any of the panelists can answer, sir.
Well, so far as the notice is dated 31st of March, but it is issued on 8th of April. And already there are judicial decisions which have held that under this situation, the date of issue would be 8th of April and not 31st of March. And once it is 8th of April, this notice is 148 notice is not valid, and therefore this legal ground can be taken before the appeal, since the appeal is pending before the appellate authority. And since it is not a case where no writ has been filed, so this, in my humble submission, the decision of Supreme Court will not be applicable in this case.
I think the question has been answered.
सर इसमें एक तो छोटा सा मैं एडिशन करना चाहूंगा क्वेरी में कि ऐसा कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट में बहुत सारे केसेस फाइल हुए थे जिसमें नोटिस वाज डेटेड 31st मार्च, बट आपको ईमेल मिला है पोस्ट 1 अप्रैल,
राइट,
उसका असेसमेंट भी हो गया,
राइट,
और द एसएससी हैड आल्सो प्रोसीडेड विद द रिट पिटीशन एंड तब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिसीजन भी आ गया,
राइट.
तो ऑनरेबल सिंगल बेंच ने ये डिसीजन लिया कि रिट इज डिसमिस्ड बट द एओ इज डायरेक्टेड टू फॉलो द मैंडेट ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट.
या
तो लेकिन मैंडेट असेसमेंट इज ऑलरेडी ओवर, तो अब वो क्या, या तो सुप्रीम ये कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट ये नहीं बोल रहा है कि आपका असेसमेंट इज नलिफाइड और फ्रेश आप करिए, लेकिन असेसमेंट होल्डिंग द फील्ड, हाउ कैन यू इशू फ्रेश नोटिसेस?
Sir, with respect, if a writ has been filed, and then the decision of this Honorable Supreme Court will have applicability with all forces, because it says wherever writs have been filed, whatever have been the decision, whether disposed of or pending, the Honorable Supreme Court decision will be applicable. And those assessments which have been made will become infructuous in this situation.
So this plea can be taken before CIT appeal?
Yes, that is my understanding.
I think CIT appeal cannot make the assessment order null and void because the assessment order has already been passed in this case.
नहीं, पर आगे तो रास्ता खुला है ना, CIT अपील तो बहुत सारा काम नहीं करेगा.
उस केस ऐसे भी है सुभाष जी कि जिसमें कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट ने ये जजमेंट दिया कि ये जो नोटिस इशू हुई है ये इनवैलिड है बिकॉज ऑफ इशू इन अप्रैल, ऐसे भी जजमेंट में हो चुके ऑलरेडी. और एक केस ऐसा भी आया कि जिसमें ये इधर तो रिट का ही ऑर्डर है, इसी बीच असेसमेंट भी हो गया और एसएससी ने अपील भी फाइल कर दी. उस केस में क्या होगा? इट इज समथिंग डिफरेंट देन example cited by you.
Sir, with great respect, where no writ has been filed.
No, writ has been filed. Writ has been filed. Yes.
अगर writ file हुआ है, then
का order भी आ गया एसएससी के फेवर में, but meanwhile assessment भी हो गया और अपील भी उसने फाइल कर.
That was the question of Subhash ji precisely, कि आपका रिट भी फाइल हो गया और इधर असेसमेंट भी हो गया.
नहीं, सुभाष जी के केस में रिट में उन्होंने ये ऑर्डर दिया था, लेकिन इस केस में उन्होंने नोटिस को इनवैलिड कर दिया, दोनों के
I
फर्क
think both the cases will stand on same footing.
Same footing, that is what I am submitting. Once a writ has been filed, then with all force, the Supreme Court decision will be applicable. Because 7-8 places in the order, there is a specific mention that this order is applicable only for the writs which are filed, which are pending, or for which orders have been made, whether decided or not decided. So this is, I think this position is clear.
पर ये kudos to the organizers कि इतने मैंने बहुत कुछ YouTube में बहुत experts को सुना है, लेकिन ये placing the panel discussion along with main discussion, ये जो फाइनल पॉइंट जो निकल के आ रहा है, ये सर आज तक कोई भी सेमिनार में ये डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ.
करेक्ट.
Can we take up the next question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, Vaidyanathan ji has asked a question: can a 148 notice be issued on an SSC who has deceased? Is the legal heir bound to respond to such notice issued in the name of the deceased SSC? सर क्या लीगल एयर
ये 148 का नोटिस जो है वो डेड पर्सन के नाम से इशू हुआ है क्या? व्हाट इज द क्वेरी?
यस सर, the notice has been issued in the name of the deceased person, so is the legal heir bound to respond to such notice, sir?
सर इसका एक मैं भी थोड़ा सा जवाब देना चाह रहा हूँ, फिर पैनलिस्ट इसको एलाबोरेट करें. यहाँ कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट में मैंने कम से कम 10-15 रीट फाइल करी हैं. डेड पर्सन के नाम से यदि इशू होती है तो इमीडिएटली, इवन विदाउट आस्किंग फॉर एफिडेविट्स फ्रॉम द डिपार्टमेंट, द कोर्ट इज इमीडिएटली क्वेश्चनिंग दोस नोटिसेस.
It's a nullity.
इट्स अ नलिटी विथ लिबर्टी कि लीगल एयर पे वो इशू कर सकता है एज पर लॉ.
Then 159 will come into picture.
एंड सर यहाँ पर एक तो नोटिस आया सर, ये वैद्यनाथन जी को मिला था. He was saying that I would like to inform you that the department has dropped a notice under section 148 for assessment year 15-16 and a communication has been received to that effect 1 hour ago. तो 1 घंटा पहले का सर एक नोटिस है जो स्क्रीन शेयरिंग में सबको दिखाया जा रहा है.
इनसे एक तो ये क्लैरिफिकेशन चाहिए सर, ये आपका टैक्स इन्वॉल्वमेंट अमाउंट इन्वॉल्व कितना था? इनकम purported income escaping assessment was how much?
Yes.
If it was below 50 lakhs,
Sir, here in this notice they are saying the said notice is hereby withdrawn.
इसलिए भी हो सकता है ना सर, वो तो सर्कुलर में बोल ही रहा है ना 50 लाख से नीचे का तो हम लोग
right. So they are themselves saying that 15-16 तक का अगर below 50 lakhs हम लोग withdraw कर लेंगे. So it is a positive notice.
He has responded also.
Yes, sir.
Our friend has responded. It is below 50. At least this is good that अपने सर्कुलर तो मान रहा है डिपार्टमेंट.
Yes. The department always go with the circular.
Benefits given in the circular, even if they are contrary, they are binding on them.
Binding on them, but it is seldom followed. Physical format में तो हमको हमारे पास तो बहुत केसेस आते थे जिसमें फॉलो ही नहीं करते थे.
नहीं वो ठीक है. Then you have a case to fight.
We can, I think, remove this.
चलिए next question.
Yes, sir. The next question is also from Vaidyanathan ji. वो पूछ रहे हैं, an assessment order under section 147 has been signed on 30th March 22 by the FAO using its digital signature. However, the digital signature itself has expired on 11th of Feb 22. Would the assessment order be a validity? Would the assessment order be a validly signed order?
क्या पानी का बोतल खुल गया क्या?
Everyone, please.
इसको वापस.
हाँ सर, मैं फिर से पढ़ रहा हूँ. An assessment order under section 147 has been signed on 30th March 22 by the FAO using its digital signature DSC. However, the DSC itself has expired on 11th of Feb 2022. Would the assessment order be a validly signed order? Your question.
बोलिए सर. गुप्ता जी आप बताइए.
I think one will have to go to the provisions of the IT Act where this whether this signing by a unauthorized DSC or a invalid DSC on a date on which it is not valid, or then it should be an invalid order according to me.
Yes.
Sir, I have an issue on this. इसमें जो कहाँ गया वो 182A है क्या, वो एक तो सेक्शन आया है 282A यदि देखा जाए सर तो ये अंदर ही अंदर इन्होंने इतना बड़ा अमेंडमेंट कर दिया है ना, तो आपको टेक्निकल पॉइंट सब बहुत कम मिलेंगे सर।
Yes.
282A में उन्होंने कहा है कि सिग्नेचर का रिक्वायरमेंट ही नहीं है।
I have said subject to that thing where that was a digitally signing, but question is when you are signing something with an invalid document, invalid DSC, I think that will make it invalid.
Can I answer this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, as rightly pointed out Subhaji, 282A में 282B में लिखा है in fact that every notice or document served or given for the purpose of this SOC shall be deemed to be authenticated with the name and office of the designated income tax authority is printed, stamped, or otherwise written hereon. But if you read subsection 1, 282A1, where this act requires a notice or other documents to be issued by any income tax authority, such notice or other documents shall be signed and issued in paper form or communicated in electric form that I authority in accordance with such procedure as may be prescribed. So section just signed and issued. And this was subject matter of interpretation by the Allahabad High Court in that case where they said that notice those signed on 31st March but issued on 8th of April is bad in law. Dowji something.
Dowji Jewelers.
Sorry?
Dowji Jewelers.
Dowji Jewelers, yes. So there the Allahabad High Court categorically held that it has to be signed and then issued.
Yeah, but recently Madras High Court has not followed that.
Madras High Court has not followed that.
Has not followed that.
एक बेंगलोर ट्रिब्यूनल का डिसीजन भी है जिसमें ये कहा है कि दिस इज नॉट फॉर रेगुलर असेसमेंट पर्पस, ये सीटीसी के लिए है, हालांकि ऐसा कुछ इट इज नॉट बोर्न आउट फ्रॉम द प्रोविजन.
And in fact, there are, if one searches on, I'm not promoting, but taxmen, if one searches digital signature, department has issued 2 instructions that each and every document has to be signed digitally. And section 282A was amended. Prior to amendment, it was written signed in manuscript. That they have removed and now they have written signed and issued. So by manuscript signature has been removed, but the condition of signature is still there. So it has to be signed according to me.
और इसमें ये भी बोल रहा है shall be deemed, second section में आता है सब section में, shall be deemed to be authenticated if the name and office of designated income tax authority is printed, stamped. स्टैम्प्ड नहीं रहता है. यदि आपका डिजिटल सिग्नेचर भी नहीं है तो स्टैम्प भी नहीं है.
लेकिन उसमें प्रिंटेड वर्ड भी है, प्रिंटेड कॉमा स्टैम्प. सो नाम और डेजिग्नेशन ना वो लोग का नोटिस में प्रिंटेड रहता है. सो दे से इट इज अ वैलिड नोटिस और अदरवाइज रिटर्न.
और आपने इंस्ट्रक्शन, कौन सा इंस्ट्रक्शन का बात कर रहे थे?
आई थिंक दैट इज रूल 127A वी हैव टू सी.
Rule 127A is under section 282A1.
Subsection 1.
They have prescribed Rule 127A.
Right.
And Rule 127A was also considered by Allahabad High Court.
Okay.
They say that how it has to be issued by writing the name and designation, but signature is mandatory.
Yeah.
ये आपने कोई इंस्ट्रक्शन की भी बात करी ना, वो
1 second ना.
इंस्ट्रक्शन ये क्या टैक्समैन में पब्लिश हुआ है क्या?
हाँ, डिजिटल सिग्नेचर पे इंस्ट्रक्शंस है एंड देयर आर अदर इंस्ट्रक्शंस एज वेल.
कहाँ मिलेंगे?
Sir, there is one instruction of 15th March 2017, digital instruction, signature instruction 1. There is one instruction of 16/2/2018, again dealing with digital signature.
Yes.
And section 144B deals with faceless assessment under which the order will be passed. Section 144B(7) as well states that notice has to be signed and issued by digital signature.
144B
144B.
subclause.
7.
Yes. अगला question sir.
Yes, sir. Rajnikant Patel ji has asked one question. I think the question is complete or not, but still I'll put forth. I had received notice under section 148 on dated 24th of May 2021 for assessment year 13-14 and notice under section 142 subsection 1 dated 16th of November 2021. In response to notice, I had filed income tax return for assessment year 13-14. Order under section 143(3) was passed on 29th of Feb 2016. Now what to do? 148 का नोटिस इशू हुआ था 24 में 21 को असेसमेंट ईयर 13-14 का, 142(1) का हुआ था 16 नवंबर 21 को. रिस्पांस में एसएससी ने असेसमेंट ईयर 13-14 का आईटीआर फाइल कर दिया. Order under section 143(3) was passed on 29th of Feb 2016. Now what to do?
ऑर्डर आपका मई 21 में नोटिस आया है.
यस सर.
और ऑर्डर कब पास हुआ?
सर ऑर्डर यही मुझे भी मिस्टेक लगा. ऑर्डर अंडर सेक्शन 143(3) was passed on 29th of Feb. I think there is some error.
नवीन जी जिनका क्वेश्चन है अगर वो अवेलेबल है तो
Yes, yes. Rajnikant Patel ji, if he's available, he can ask.
Question is if the order has been passed subsequently.
Yes. No, sir. Sir,
there's some error. There's some error in.
Yeah.
No, sir. वो स्क्रूटिनी में हुआ था और स्क्रूटिनी का 143(3) ऑर्डर हुआ है पहले. नोटिस तो अभी 148 का, वो तो रेगुलर स्क्रूटिनी हुआ है.
Regular scrutiny हुआ है. If the issues which have been dealt under regular scrutiny, then you can take the plea of change of opinion or review as per Kelvinator Supreme Court decision. All those things are available to you. And even otherwise, you can file an appeal since it is for assessment year 13-14. Notices having been issued post 31st March, post April 21. वो ग्राउंड पे भी आप इसको चैलेंज कर सकते हैं 149(1) के प्रोवाइजो के ग्राउंड के ऊपर. Then and but whether an order has been passed after the filing of the return, that was my question. If no order has been passed, how can an appeal can be filed?
There is no any further communication.
No, you have furnished a return.
Yeah.
Thereafter, is there any communication?
No, not at all.
You must have furnished a return as per the original return filed. You must not have admitted any additional income.
No.
So if there is no additional income offered and if there is no communication now, as even as per the departmental circular, below 50 lakhs, they will not disturb you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, the next question is from Naresh ji. Order was passed under section 148A subsection D and notice under section 148 has to be passed by JAO or under faceless. मतलब basically the order faceless होने चाहिए कि नहीं होने चाहिए? That is
one who has passed the order under 148AD will be issuing the notice. If it is a JAO, then JAO will issue the notice.
Okay, thank you, sir.
The same authority who has passed 148AD will issue the 148 notice.
And I think और भी काफी questions है, but most of them have already been answered. So if any of the participants want to raise their hands and ask question, I think.
I would like to interject at this moment.
Yes.
और मैं एक न्यूज शेयर कर रहा हूँ, एक जो यहाँ पर चैट बॉक्स में आया है उसके आधार पर कि at least 2 of the participant has said, and this will be music to the ears of the organizers and the speakers and panelists, excluding me. मेरा कोई रोल खास नहीं है इसमें. 2 जन ने, वैद्यनाथन साहब ने और वासुदेव शर्मा जो हमारे मित्र भी हैं, उनका ये कहना है कि by far this discussion is the best discussion कोई भी वेबिनार में आज तक इस इश्यू पर जो डिस्कशन हुआ है, दिस इज द बेस्ट प्रेजेंटेशन एंड डिस्कशन ऑन द इश्यू. तो heads off to the speaker and all the panelists for making such lively.
Sir, I do have a couple of questions, sir. Hello.
आप बोलिए.
Sir, on 12th of May, just 2 weeks back, order was passed by Honorable Delhi High Court, questioning the assessment order that involved a tax amount of more than rupees 1 lakh crore.
Divya Capital's case.
So can you please throw some light on this?
This was a case wherein the notice under 148A and also the order under 148A was challenged in the writ petition before the High Court. The High Court in sum and substance observed that the notices were being issued in a summarized manner without really application of mind. The order was passed without establishing any linkage between the information and the escapement of income. The order was passed without supplying the information which the assessing officer had received. And in that view of the matter, the High Court held, by virtue of that order, which is one of the wonderful orders, all the participants must read that, which takes you beyond Supreme Court decisions and it takes you in the present environment. Whereunder now what would happen? What is the future of 148A? What it is trying to say is that notice under 148A cannot be issued simply because the AO is in receipt of an information. Unless the AO has applied the mind to the information and found that information is suggestive, mind you, information is suggestive of escapement of income, and the escapement of income is reasonably quantified, then only on that basis the assessing officer can proceed to issue a notice first step. The High Court further stated that you cannot pass a routine and a summarized order under 148 AD by simply saying that, you know, whatever has been submitted by the assessee is not acceptable, or that no further inquiry is required and therefore notice under section 148 is being issued. So in effect, my fellow panelists and the moderator and the speaker and everybody, what is being now stated is the law which we have always understood to be the law. That even where reasons are not required to be recorded, the information must be suggestive of an escapement of income, and that could be done only when mind is applied to. And my objections under 148A could be refused or rejected only after detailed analysis of my submissions. So this, I would believe, is perhaps Supreme Court said that yes, all those 148A was a game changer, but I would believe that Divya Capital itself is a game changer. It makes us understand the law as we have always understood. There is no sea change between the old law and the new law. Only sections have changed.
Sir, if I may add one line.
Yes,
I think
sure.
the bottom line is that information also has to have a live nexus.
Exactly.
With the escapement of
Very
income.
Very well said. Yes. Very well.
Only one word of caution. In writ
Yes.
petition, they are not simply questioning, but they are restoring it back to the
Setting
AO.
aside. Yes, yes, yes.
Then you have to go through the rigor of the entire process.
Sir, I am told that even explanation 1 to section 148 has been challenged before the Rajasthan High Court and notice has been issued.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. It has admitted the writ.
Admitted the writ, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, sir, we'll go through the order. Now one basic query, not basically a query, sir. We were more than 200 chartered accountants over here, and the whole discussion was revolving around the validity of the notices. But we chartered accountants, unfortunately, start preparing the replies and calling for the documents from the client whenever we get any notice of 148 from the clients. So, how do you people, being in the advocacy profession, tell we chartered accountants to react to the notices? What should be our way forward? especially to the young members like us.
But I thought that Dharan has very beautifully explained the whole process.
Yes,
That
yes.
how to
The
define
presentation
properly
is-
in
Yes.
detail. And what
Yes,
I
yes,
suggest, Anshul, is that please circulate the PowerPoint
Yes.
which Dharan has, introduced, and
Good,
that
sir.
should answer all your questions.
Yes, sir.
That's
Now I would request.
Thank you.
Only-
Nothing from my side now.
sir. Can we take up
Only one thing
sir?
I will add
Yes,
here.
yes.
I want to
Yes.
say something. As you got notices under section 148A are being issued by the department. Mr. Gandhi has spoken a lot about the procedure or the system we should follow. One thing is that in more than 25% or 40% to 30% notices, we will find a lot of errors from the department. We should search those errors. I have got certain notices. In one notice, in the body of the notice, the notice is name of one company. Whereas in the regions, they have mentioned the name of some LLP or the difference of AOP and difference of the amount. So many errors, difference of the facts. In the body, they are quoting certain different facts, but the matter relates to some different facts. So our duty as a chartered accountant or advocate, our duty is read the notice minutely, not only once, twice and thrice. Because big notices, unless you read the notices twice and thrice, you cannot find out the mistakes and errors. और दो छोटी से छोटी भी मिस्टेक है वो आप पॉइंट आउट करो और उसको आप उसमें एक्सप्लेन करो. हाईकोर्ट के सामने रिट भी करनी पड़ेगी, आगे हाईकोर्ट में अपील में केस भी जाएंगे, तो ये सारे सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट कितना काम आए गॉड नोज. उससे अगर हो जाएगा तो बात ही खत्म है. लेकिन अदरवाइज इतनी एरर्स रहेगी डिपार्टमेंट की नोटिस, उनको अगर हम लोग पॉइंट आउट करें तो उनके से उन नोटिस को अपने वैसे क्वेस्ट करा सकते हैं या बाद में चीज सकते हैं. तो वहाँ आपको बहुत केयरफुल रहने का.
May I just supplement one thing?
Thank you, sir.
May I just supplement one thing? Yes. In my presentation, I had pointed out that जैसे पहले reasons recorded हुआ करता था, we used to object and there used to be an order disposing objections. And reasons recorded was the only basis of determining the validity of reassessment proceeding. So उसके बाद हम कुछ भी objection लेके we could have argued the case. But under the new process, you are issued a show cause notice and then an order is to be passed. In my personal opinion, the order passed is now the new reasons recorded. So what will happen is, if you give a reply to show cause notice, he will improve upon his order. वो अपना order improve कर देगा ताकि it will be very difficult for you to challenge it. So there you have to play very smart. You have to point out to the AO, you show how the requirements of sections have been fulfilled, and very subtly एकदम कहीं पे छुपा छुपा के आपको बोलना है कि ये गलत है, ये गलत है, ये गलत है. अगर आपने एकदम पॉइंट करके बोल दिया कि यू हैव डन दिस एरर, तो वो ऑर्डर में रेक्टिफाई कर देगा, देन देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन ऑफ चैलेंजिंग दैट. इट विल बिकम वेरी डिफिकल्ट. सो यू हैव टू वेरीफाई. इनफैक्ट एज सर ने कहा है, पारस सर ने कहा है, आपको तो इन्फॉर्मेशन तो देंगे, साथ में डॉक्यूमेंट्स देंगे, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ पार्टीज देंगे, जो भी एविडेंस मिला है सब देंगे. So you have to go through everything, you have to point out all the issues, but in a subtle manner such that he should not get a hint to improve upon his reasons. He will improve upon and pass a very beautiful order, which will then be very difficult, to challenge on the jurisdictional aspect.
मिस्टर गांधी, मेरा दो क्वेश्चन है आपसे.
हाँ जी.
एक तो है कि इफ आई हर्ड इट राइट, आपने कहा कि requirement of taking sanction by PCIT, CCIT has not been dispensed with in the Supreme Court decision.
Yes.
So is this in respect of 143A capital A?
148 capital A clause B. Issue of show cause notice with prior approval of prescribed authority.
Clause B में सर कहीं पर अप्रूवल
नहीं, वो आप शायद नया एक्ट पढ़ रहे हैं, वो अमेंड हो गया फाइनेंस एक्ट 22 से, उन्होंने वो प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी का
21 अलग से मैं रखा हूं सर.
अच्छा, तो उसमें देखो सर, इश्यू ऑफ शो कॉज नोटिस विद प्रायर अप्रूवल लिखा है.
अच्छा, only Supreme Court has dispensed with in regard to clause A.
Correct.
सेकंड
Narayan
क्वेश्चन
sir,
है
I
मेरा,
think-
ये जो एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन, ये
Yes, sir.
फ्लैग्ड इंफॉर्मेशन जो फाइनेंस एक्ट 2021 में बहुत लिमिटेड स्कोप है, फ्लैग्ड इंफॉर्मेशन एंड सीएजी ऑब्जेक्शन फाइनल ऑर्डर। तो ये जो फ्लैग्ड इंफॉर्मेशन है, ये क्योंकि एज पर द लेटर रिटन बाय द गजेटेड ऑफिसर्स, they are themselves admitting that the information is being received from all sources. They are not talking about only flagged information. तो बोला ये notices हमने जो issue करी थी, information had been received from all different sources. तो ये जो flagged information, बाद में इन्होंने flagged word हटा दिया, realizing their folly, this will limit their chance of winning. तो ये भी तो हम इसको हाईलाइट करें ना कि ये फ्लैग्ड इंफॉर्मेशन जो है, ये अच्छा ये कैसे इंडिपेंडेंटली कैसे एग्जामिन होगा फ्लैग, बिकॉज़ नोबडी नोज।
हाँ, इफ यू अगर आपका 1421 से 30 जून पहले 21 तक का नोटिस है, तो उन्होंने क्या किया है, वी हैव रिसीव्ड बिकॉज दे हैव फ्लोड अंडर द ओल्ड लॉ, तो दे हैव जस्ट रिकॉर्डेड रीजंस टू बिलीव बेस्ड ऑन द इंफॉर्मेशन रिसीव्ड।
हाँ, वो तो हमने समझ लिया कि वो हमारा डिपार्टमेंट का एक बहुत बड़ा लूप होल है।
करेक्ट।
तो उसको एक्सप्लॉइट करने के लिए वी हैव टू चैलेंज दिस एस्पेक्ट कि भाई ये फ्लैग्ड इंफॉर्मेशन कैसे है।
Yes. So my personal view is, instead of writing in our objection that you don't have any flagged information in accordance with risk management strategy, we should tactically put that we have gone through the information available. Onus is on the AO to demonstrate that it falls under clause 1 or clause 2 of explanation 1. If it falls under clause 1, please first show me what is the risk management strategy. According to me, there is no such strategy. Once you show me risk management strategy, please show me information has been flagged in accordance with risk management strategy. हमको उनको ये नहीं बताना है कि आपके पास इंफॉर्मेशन और फ्लैग नहीं है, वरना वो कुछ तो इनसाइड पोर्टल का प्रिंट आउट लेके अटैच कर देंगे. बट वी हैव टू shift the onus on the department that you prove my case falls within information flagged in accordance with risk management strategy. Sir, वो क्या हो गया 1421 से they have reopened all the assessment based on information available on the inside portal. So according to them, all information available on inside portal, they have a right to reopen the assessment. But that has aligned with the new law, not with the old law. So the old law में वो लोग क्या कर रहे थे कि information received from so and so party or so and so officer, therefore reasons to believe. If they issue the same thing, then they have faltered in under the new law, and we can exploit it by saying that you have not demonstrated how it falls within explanation 1.
तो सर ये क्या पब्लिक डोमेन में है क्या, ये क्या रिस्क मैनेजमेंट स्ट्रेटेजी जो है कि आज तक उन्होंने फॉर्मुलेट
नहीं, it's not that. In one of my objections I had written, please tell me what is the risk management strategy and please prove whether my case falls within the risk management strategy. तो ऑफिसर का एक ही ओरल रिप्लाई था, रिस्क मैनेजमेंट स्ट्रेटेजी मतलब इनसाइड पोर्टल.
It is incorrect.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
हाँ प्रदीप सर.
One can refer to this CBDT circular dated 10 December 21,
Yes.
wherein this risk management strategy functionality has been discussed in that can give you some indication.
Yes.
नहीं वो हम एक्सेस कर सकते हैं क्या?
Yeah, that is a CBDT circular.
ये सर्कुलर तो मिल जाएगा, लेकिन रिस्क मैनेजमेंट स्ट्रेटेजी क्या पब्लिक डोमेन में है क्या?
No. There is
What could be
information? It is not
what
even
could be what could be risk management strategy? They have stated that information from government agency, law enforcement agency, information arising of internal audit objection, information received from any income tax authority, information arising out of search. So they have given a list based on which that information comes. Then it will fall within the risk management strategy. This is this.
Yeah.
सर ये हम लोगों को थोड़ा कंक्लूड करना चाहिए सुभाष सर.
हाँ जी कंक्लूड करिए.
सुभाष सर कंक्लूड करना चाहिए.
हमारे तरफ से कंप्लीट है सर, आप ही लोग क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं.
Narayan sir,
we can take up the
Sir,
matter.
if you
Please
can-
take up the matter. We request Narayan sir to conclude the matter, sir.
Yes, considering the time,
Sir.
now we would request to please conclude the
Narayan
remarks. So I would
Jain ji.
request Narayan Jain ji to please put some concluding remarks. Over to you, Narayan Jain ji. Sir, you are
आपका muted है sir. आप
muted, sir.
muted है.
Sir, आप muted.
आप sir muted है sir. Sir आप muted है.
Sir, आप muted. नारायण जी, आप muted है sir.
अभी सुनाई दे रहा है?
Yes sir.
हाँ जी, हाँ
ठीक
जी.
है, अभी सुन रहे हैं, सुन रहे
We had wonderful deliberations by all our guest speakers. Dharan Bhai has not only explained as a speaker in the beginning, but later on also he has explained so many points so carefully. And we all are always eager to listen to Chartered Accountant Pradeep Kapasi ji, SS Gupta ji, Paras Kochar ji, and you see this whole gamut of questions have been so beautifully made by the moderator, Advocate Subhas Agarwal ji. We thank him. And on many issues, there have been some kind of difference of opinion that is bound to be there. And what Supreme Court has done, despite the orders of various high courts, that they have given the new life to this 148 notices by deeming them as 148A notices. So you see, the Supreme Court possibly has got a good heart for the advocates and chartered accountants. Because after the Supreme Court judgment dated 4th of May, we are having a lot of work, lot of information and material is coming. We are all supposed to answer it. And so far I understand, you see, I also have a judgment, recent judgment in the case of Ajay Bhandari versus Union of India, Allahabad High Court, recent decision. There the Honorable High Court has said that so far assessment of 1450 is concerned, and if the income alleged to have been escaped is below 50 lakhs, it cannot be reopened. This is Ajay Bhandari's case, two-member bench of Allahabad High Court. So far I understand as a student of law that this assessment of 13, 14, 14, 15 is a gone chapter. So far 15, 16 is concerned, if we consider that the time for issue of the notice as per the earlier provisions, because the provision has been rightly explained, that completes on 31st of March 2022. The question is that though the Honorable Supreme Court has said that the notices issued under Section 148 will be treated as notices under Section 148A. But the fact of the things remain that 148 notices in any case will have to be issued now after considering the reply of the assessees in response to the material or information which is being provided. So it has to be tested in the courts in due course, 15-16 matter. But in any case, if 15-16 is challenged, and you see even the CBDT is not very sure, they might have written anything in their instruction, but they also know that it is full of gaps. But you see what our friend Advocate Dharanji has said, that we should raise questions whether the officer has complied with the basic jurisdictional provisions and other provisions, preconditions. The thing is that we should reply to this information or material to the extent possible as soon as possible. Because if we reply at a late hour, then it may not be possible for the officer to respond to the queries which we may be raising. So in whatever cases this information or material is going to come, we all know what is going to happen. So we should get ourselves prepared. Clients should get themselves prepared. And one issue was very heavily raised by the moderator, that is about the proviso, third proviso, that is the exclusion of time allowed to the SSC to respond to 148A or the time of stay which is granted by the court. So you see, the two situations are specifically mentioned in as many words in the third proviso, and we cannot go beyond that. So whatever will fall within those two specific situations, only that time can be eliminated according to me. I would not like to take more of your time because we have been very well explained by all the learned speakers, and in some time of tomorrow, we would also like to invite you, sir, particularly our friends from Bombay, Dharan Bhai and Sri Pradeep Kapasi ji, sometime to invite to Calcutta, because we are all impressed with your deliberations. And some of us have heard you for the first time. Of course, people like me, I have heard you earlier also. And our local speakers, they also explained very well, Gupta ji and Paras Bhai. My congratulations while summing up to all the speakers, moderator, and all the organizers. And this lady, I can see Pallavi Todi, she has been doing very well. We are all had a very good experience, and that time I think there were as many as 270 participants. So that way we have been very successful. And if somebody can make note of as to the issues which have been raised by the moderator and the answers, so that can be settled by the moderator for the benefit of others. So with this, it has been my pleasure, though I had told Hitesh Mode that I will be here only for 1 hour, but the attraction of the speakers, all the speakers, that encouraged me that I should be here for the full time. And once again, heads off to all the speakers. Thank you very much. And friends, we have Sri R.S. Upadhyay is with us, former Chief Commissioner. Upadhyay Sahab. उपाध्याय साहब, देखिए रघुवीर शरण उपाध्याय, पल्लवी, कैन यू सी?
नहीं सर, नहीं लग रहे हैं वो अभी.
अच्छा, ठीक है, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Pallavi, you can conclude the final vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Narayanji. Thank you so much, everyone. This was a very enlightening session by all the panelists, moderators, and speakers. On behalf of Fuse Exchange and all the participants of current session, I would like to thank Speaker Dharan Gandhi ji for detailed elaboration and explanation on how to draft responses and replies for section 148. Would also like to thank panelists Pradeep Kapasi ji, Paras Kochar ji, SS Gupta ji for their views on notices to section 148 and other relevant sections. Would also like to thank Advocate Subhash Agarwal ji for moderating such interacting session and keep engaging every speaker for the session. And finally, I would like to thank Narayan Jain ji, the chairperson of the seminar, and Views Exchange Secretary Girdhari ji and President Saroj Swaika ji, and of course Nitesh ji for organizing session on such important topic. And finally, I would like to thank all the members of this seminar and my co-host for joining us and being so attentive and making this session for a success seminar. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you. It's a nice seminar. Thanks.
Thank you. Recording बंद कर दीजिए अंशुल जी.
The panelist has made it very successful. The speakers has made it very successful. Thanks. Okay, sir.